Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geezables. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
I'm one of the
Lady B
Geezables,
mentioned
huh?
that name on the other stream. I like it. I think it's marketable. I'm already in
Okay.
talks with Disney. It's going to be a new Disney afternoon show, the Geezables. You'll have to do some voice acting. There
Yeah,
may be
but
some there may be some off-color humor involving devices you strap onto yourself. Oh
I
no,
was
I'm
going to
already in
say the
trouble at the
problem
beginning
is
of the stream.
neither one of us would be able to play ourselves. We'd have to be represented by transgendered or female people of color.
Welcome everyone to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Yep,
And
yep.
here we are. And here we are. Well, how does the chat know we aren't those things? Well,
Well, that's a
they
good
know who
point.
you are. Actually, they had
Yeah, my picture's right there. Yours is.
uh,
I swear, you look like Chancellor Martok on a lawnmower
Martok from
from
Star
Star
Trek.
Trek. Yeah, the Klingon. Yeah, if you've ever seen him out of his makeup, that's pretty much what he looks like.
Sorry, I'm eating. For
That's
Christmas, I
fine.
got a bag of coal. It's chocolate. It's covered in black tinfoil and it's chocolate.
I've seen those. I've also seen bags of coal that are little black pieces of bubble gum.
Interesting. That might have been better.
Yeah.
This is that Palmer chocolate. I don't like the taste of Palmer chocolate. Palmer is weird in that they always get an A+ for presentation, like their bunnies look incredible
Oh,
when you
sure,
see
sure.
them. But the
Yeah.
chocolate just isn't that good.
No, because they use palm oil and what do they call it? Trans fats.
Ugh,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna get any more of those. I just felt I'd try one live. So here we are. Let's see. Have a good show, my friends. Hello, chat. Hope everyone has a great week. Thank you, Big Al.
Yep. Yep.
Wanting to see that Super Nintendo Land Before I Die might be a good place for GeezerCon 2025. Oh, really?
You know what? Speaking of Nintendo, and we got something about that very shortly.
Yeah.
Netter pointed something out to me that just blew my mind. You know those memes. You know, I was this many days old when I found out. I just found out that Marissa Tomei.
Mm-hmm.
You take and you scramble up the letters of her name, and you get it's a me, Mario.
Oh, that's funny.
Not even kidding.
They
Yeah.
should have her do a voice for the Mario one of the Mario movies.
Oh, in that
Whenever
Brooklyn accent. That would be
Yes.
awesome. Yeah.
It's funny because they had the when they were doing the commercial in the first movie, they had this the woman doing the commercial for the plumbing service. She goes, "The only thing you haven't drained is my bank account," and she looks at it, and I didn't know who was doing that voice, and it turns out it was the actress that played Princess Toadstool on the original Super Mario Brothers cartoon.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting if they got Marissa Tomei to do something. in
That
one of
would
those
be
movies.
awesome. Yeah, yeah.
But we love Marissa Tomei. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Remember the wrestler with
Yep.
her and what's his name?
Oh,
I hate it when this happens. Mickey Rourke.
right, Mickey
There we
Rourke.
go. That I'm not
I was
typically a
going to
big.
say he was the one in that Zalman King movie. That's the only thing I otherwise remember
Yes,
him
I
from.
remember many a Zalman King movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Joan Severance, my word. Anyway, what was I thinking of? Mickey Rourke though was in the wrestler. That I have to tell you, I don't typically like what is it, Darren Aronofsky movies, but I
Mhm.
love that one because
Yeah.
it perfectly captured that time when it was made.
Yeah,
It was a
true.
nice time capsule, like the kind of we're a few years into the War on Terror, people are kind of drained,
Yep.
and just the whole mood of the country. It's in that movie. It's a wonderful character piece about a kind of a washed up professional wrestler, but
Yep.
yeah. In fact, I think WWE heavily promoted that too. They were big fans of that movie, which I thought was interesting because it didn't necessarily portray wrestling in the most flattering light, but I guess because they were being realistic about it though too, so they probably went to the WWE for pointers. But
Probably. And Matanui makes a great point. I'd actually forgotten this. Thank you for reminding us. He says, I know him as Whiplash from Iron Man 2. That's true. That's true.
I remembered when Iron Man 2 was announced, and I saw that Mickey Rourke was going to be in it, and I remember he played Randy the Ram in the wrestler. I was saying, "Oh, it would have been even better though if he had just been Iron Man versus Randy the Ram character from the wrestler, and they made him the villain."
Oh gosh, yeah, right?
But yeah, he was Whiplash in Iron Man 2. He was funny when they were talking to him on set. He was thinking some of these people on the set were a little spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
Because like people were asking to get him all like a fancy coffee, and he's like, "Just get me a coffee, it's fine." He wasn't like demanding or anything. I guess he was more working class. Leia Plus Size, welcome to the chat. Netters Network, welcome as always. Of course, you're always with us.
Yep.
Did I say hi to everybody yet? Horizon Talker, Dee Myers Jr., welcome.
Welcome.
So, yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. I guess more, as Clownfish TV used to call it,
Dismal Disney. Yeah.
It's never coming back, I'm telling you. It's
going
to be a long road. We'll see.
It's going to be a long road. That's absolutely true. I think the Nelson Peltz thing's getting interesting. I'm going to have some fun with that this year.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this works out. It's going to be 2024 is going to be an interesting year.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me is rather terrified of what the year could be because I just think something big is going to happen. I just don't know what it is. It could be good. It could be bad.
Mm-hmm.
I just get that feeling. But welcome to the Geeky Geezers.
We got without getting political, I'm going to say in the political sphere, we got some good news today. So, it gives me some positivity for later this year.
Right. I guess another person dropped out. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida.
And I'm trying not to get into the whole gambling thing because there's a lot of people that gamble about what you expect is going to happen, what you expect is not going to happen. And someone said, when do you think Nikki Haley's going to drop out? I said this week. But I said it quickly. And then I realized, no. The Never Trumpers are literally paying her to stay in as long as it disrupts Trump. So she'll stay in as long as the paychecks keep coming in.
This means the debates are over, aren't they?
They might as well be, yeah.
Because I don't think Vivek's going to bother because he's not running. Yeah, because he's not going to because he's not running. And
no, he's now doing the circuits on interviews and chat shows and even online. And it's mostly very Trump favorable. If he's not angling for VP, he's angling for a place in the cabinet. And I'd like to see it. I'd like to see him have a place in the cabinet.
Yeah, there's no.
But if I was betting, he's not vice president. He's not even on the short list.
Yeah, no, I don't know who's going to be on the short list for that, but I'm trying to think. Greg Abbott, maybe? I don't know. Probably not him, but yeah.
No, almost certainly not.
I'm trying to think, though. Well, I'm seeing there's no... Because Nikki Haley said she wasn't going to do any more debates anyway. And I think everybody else is out.
Well, if she ended up... Who's she going to be going up against other than Trump now? And Trump would just friggin' decimate her.
And I'm trying to... Yeah. But I'm also trying to think... No, and the Republicans said they're not going to do another presidential debate with the Democrats right now. At least they were furious from last time. They said there has to be something. I forgot what things had to be reached. They didn't want to do another debate because they were furious at the last presidential debates with Biden, with him and Trump. They were angry about something. So I don't think there may be any debates this year. So it's going to be a weird year.
Yeah. Well, anyway, and don't make any bets based on Troy because Troy knows nothing. But my money is on Ben Carson for vice president. You
know what? I am going to say this. I frankly thought he would have been a good pick for Surgeon General. And I will say this about Ben Carson.
Oh, that's not... Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
But no, I could see him as VP. No, I always liked Ben Carson. I thought he got really screwed over during his other campaign. I know by who. I feel he was an honest man and a professional, an actual professional. He was, a brain surgeon, correct? If I think that's his trade. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. So no, imagine having someone like that in the White House when a pandemic was going on. Things might have been very different, but oh well. Anyway, here we are. Should we go into the good old days? Because I know you want to know what it is, because this is a secret even from Troy tonight.
Yeah, normally with the good old days, we discuss it, we know in advance, and if it's something I'm not completely up on, I kind of brush up. I'm coming in cold, so you're gonna get my live reaction, guys.
Okay.
No
All right.
worries, Jesse Guajardo. Welcome. Sony. Okay, well that's a big topic.
Well, not exactly. When you think of Sony, I'm not talking about Sony of today or
Mhm.
even Sony of this century.
Yeah,
Think back to the Sony you grew up with of the
I'll tell you.
70s and especially the 80s.
Yep.
What was Sony known for? Let's go.
The
Uh,
Walkman.
well, we're going to get to that, but high-end electronics, look at that. Huh? Isn't that a beaut? I was having a conversation with Troy on Friday night's last call, and I told him how I went on eBay and I found a Sony upscaling DVD player, one of their first models of one of those types, the ones that could upscale DVDs to HD. And I found one on eBay for under $50, brand new. And when I took it out of the package, I marveled at just how slick the design was, and it made me think that I don't know if we get that from electronics these days, and maybe I'm just not buying high end enough stuff of the stuff that's out now. But I remember a time when part of the selling point of electronics wasn't just their what they could do functionally, but also their design. And look at this beauty with all the knobs and the buttons and everything, right?
Yeah, I had something very very similar to that growing up. Yeah, yeah. And
Did
oh,
you have
let
a?
me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
What was really awesome about it, I know this is people don't really think about that these days, but when you would put on like the smooth jazz and you'd turn off the lights, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
thing had all these beautiful, especially with the visual
Yeah, arrays. Yeah,
tuner. Yeah,
yeah.
you know the equalizers and stuff. Oh,
I
it was
missed
just
those.
beautiful.
Do they still make those?
Oh, I'm sure they do. Whether it's Sony or other brands, yeah, very
Right.
similar.
Well, I
Very
don't know
very
if
similar.
Sony does anymore either. I'll get into that later. But yeah. But when I just remember as a kid, my dad would buy electronics. He'd get all sorts of like he had turntables and stereo equipment. I don't know how much Sony stuff he had because I remember Sony. I always thought was the high end stuff, like it was the premium electronics you could buy. I don't know if that was your memory. I mean, there were plenty of other good brands out there too, like
Right.
but I just didn't remember Sony was always like I guess the prestige brand I want to say. The stereo receiver you grow into, not out of. Look at this. Look at this. This is from a magazine. We used to have those back in the day.
Yeah.
And if you look up top, you see the young married couple, right?
Yeah.
And you see the receiver in the base unit, and it says you grow into. And then look at all this equipment next to it. He's got a turntable on top of it, and I'm not sure what's next to it. Is that a tape deck, or maybe that might be what it is? And the idea is you could keep adding on to it. Isn't this an interesting thought? There's a TV over there. Isn't this an interesting thought that you could buy a piece of equipment and the idea was you were supposed to own it for a long time and you
Yeah.
would just add on to it instead of just tossing it out after it broke after a couple of years. I like this a lot.
Yeah. Imagine that, right?
Yeah. I mean, did you grow up with any Sony products in your household? I mean, we're going to get to the Walkman in a bit, but anything else? Like, did anyone in your family have a stereo, or was it too high end? Because I know I don't think I did. So I'm not
Well,
judging
Sony.
here,
See,
but
I I grew up in the '70s, and so the original phonograph stereo. You
yeah,
know, it was one of those big wood units. This is before Sony started to get popular in the U.S.
yeah. Hmm.
So I can't remember what it was. If it was like Magnavox or something like that. It was something that predated Sony. One of those huge things. Like, you know, no one would steal it because they couldn't carry it the F out. You know?
I seem to recall Magnavox. They were American, correct? That was an
Right.
American electronics company.
Exactly.
Yeah, we did make electronics here in the United States at one point. It did happen,
And the TV was
and it was quality
Zenith.
stuff too. It wasn't junk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the TV was Zenith.
I
Also,
remember
a
seeing it.
big wooden box, that you couldn't carry out. Hell, it was me and my dad trying to move the thing a foot or two so mom could vacuum behind the damn thing. You know?
Well, you have to get because well sometimes you would have to vacuum the TV out too. Put the vacuum up to the TV to get some of that dust out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
absolutely had to. They kind of accumulated.
Let's get a closer look. I have to say, this might be where where I was maybe too young to fully appreciate this stuff, but I was always fascinated by this stuff as a kid. Oh, well, you press the button and the light comes on. You put the tape in there, and there are all these knobs to mess
Yeah.
around with. You know, and if you look to the side, like over here, I think this would be like for phonograph or tape deck or radio or something like that, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I always liked fiddling around with this stuff. Look at the. I think that's a smaller headphone jack, but that's for the larger ones. Remember the larger headphones you would get to plug in with the
Oh,
larger
sure,
jacks
sure.
on the end. I remember those. But yeah, do you know what this is?
Let me
One of
see.
the earliest boom boxes.
Oh
You know,
my gosh,
boom
yeah.
box.
Yeah. They got much bigger. Ironically, they got bigger, right?
Like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you? I think even if you didn't own one, you knew someone who had one, right?
Sure.
Was
Yeah,
always a
yeah.
thing.
Exactly.
And you always watch movies in the 80s, you'd have the kids on the street, and one of them has the big boom box, or like a gang member would have the big boom box on his shoulder, or maybe it'd just be kids doing some break dancing or something, right? You'd have the
Yeah.
boom box.
And
I don't know.
I
Yeah.
believe it or not, I was a break dancer.
I believe you. Okay.
David Pansek says, remember the introduction of the soft eject cassette door? Yes, I do, and my stereo did have one. Yes.
Is the soft eject? Let me see if I can guess what that is. Is that where you just push in the door and it pops out?
That there is that. I think that
That's
came
not what you're
later.
thinking of. Okay, that's not what
Originally,
you're
you'd
thinking
hit eject, and it would just go boing, pop open, and then later it
Oh.
would click, and then it would slowly open up. There must have been some sort of a
Oh, yes.
hydraulic in there or something.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, because that's right. On my dad's professional equipment, you would hit the eject, it would come out. But if I had something lower end, it would just pop out.
Yes.
I remember now. Yes.
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 And David says the boombox took 6 to 8 D cell batteries. Yes, that's true. And I'll tell you, if you don't know what a D cell battery is, though one of those is heavy as hell. If you put one of those in a sock, you could beat someone to death with it. Think about what 8 of them are, then think about them in a big metal box like this.
Now I have an image of Charles Bronson putting some D-cell batteries into a sock and hitting someone on the street with it from Death Wish or something. He used rolls of quarters instead. But
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is what you mean, Lady V. And welcome, by the way.
Yes,
but
welcome.
Yes, you did need to know how to strip wires, because if you had speakers, the connection was not like these days where it was just a jack and port. It was a wire that you had to strip. There had to be some frayed metal there to slip into a little clip.
I remember that. I remember when I messed around. I had to get my dad's help with this when I got my first surround sound system, which was a Pro Logic system, because at that point they were cheaper because they were trying to phase those out in favor of the 5.1 system. So I got the Pro Logic system, and he had to show me how to fray the wires. And I guess he did it all the time himself because he was big on home stereos and stuff like that. Here we go. There's the big one.
If you want, you can also share the what I'm sharing below. That was the Walkman I had when I was a kid.
Look at that.
Yep, it had stereo, a microphone on it. It also had the feature that when it got to the end of the cassette, it would start playing the other side.
I didn't have a Walkman that did that, but I had a knockoff Walkmans that did that. And you guys don't understand that when it would do that, that was an amazing feat of technology. How it would just clip to the other side, and it would go to the other side of the cassette, and you wouldn't have to take it out and put the other side on, which was a big pain in the butt. You could just wait for it to do the click.
Auto reverse feature. Yeah, because you got to remember this was very you guys all have MP3 players, or you listen on your phone and all that kind of stuff, so you can listen to music, and you could just do it for hours, right? If you were limited by a cassette, you got 60 minutes of music, and that was it. And if you were at that 30-minute mark, and you were in the middle of, if you're running down the street because you're jogging, or you're in the middle of a set of on the bench press or whatever, you did not want to stop to change the music.
Yeah. No, you didn't because it's a pain, and it's especially if your hands are occupied with other things or whatnot, or yeah.
I will say one thing I didn't care for that I think we've got that's better now is those headphones there that just the sponge that just kind of sat on
Awful.
your ears. You didn't get great sound from them. Yes, it didn't kill all the noise around you, which I suppose is an upside. But yeah, I sometimes have to cup my hands over my ears to really hear a song well. You know.
Were the Sony ones at least comfortable to wear?
Oh, sure, sure they
Because
were.
I would get like knockoff ones of those, and sometimes they would like pinch your head because I got a big head anyway, so they would like pinch
Oh,
your head, and it was just no uncomfortable. I'll say this: I do like the earbuds that came with the iPod. In fact, I'll even say this: the iPod was one of my favorite inventions, probably of the last 30 years. I'll say that
sure,
because
sure. It wasn't that they were uncomfortable. The problem was, like I was just saying before, if you're jogging, they didn't hold very tight, so they tend to slip backwards.
mhm,
Which wasn't cool. And of course, mine was a little bit bigger than that one you're showing there.
that's one
So
of the earlier models. I think that's from '81. Yeah.
the way you held it on was that you wore it like a purse, like or like an Indiana Jones satchel. So what you'd have to do is come up with some clever way to tie it to your hip, so that as you're jogging, it's not bouncing and
I
slapping
have
into your
no
side.
doubt there were Walkman accessories sold either by Sony or third
Yep.
parties that would help you with that. Yeah.
Look at what you can see is on the upper left corner, and just before the mic, right between the record button and the mic, are these little metal loops where you would hook in a strap that came with it,
Yeah.
and it was adjustable, and you could wear it like real tight under your arm, or you could wear it down to your hip or whatever, and either way wasn't real comfortable when you were jogging, but it was really I used it at home to listen to my music in my room because the big stereo was out in the front room. So if I
Right. When
wanted,
you're a kid, you don't always have access to the big stereo. But you get
yeah,
this, you can make a recording. If you don't have a record player, you can make a recording onto it on cassette and bring it in your room and listen to it there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then sometimes, like I said, when I'd listen to the stereo in the front room, I'd turn the I'd put on the jazz, I'd turn off the lights, and I'd be sitting next to it with the heavier earphones, and my mom would be like, "What's wrong?" She thought I was being all emo. This was before there was emo. I'm like, I'm listening to some jazz, especially like around Christmas time and stuff. She's like, well, you shouldn't sit in the dark. Why?
Oh.
Why? I'm not reading. I'm not doing anything I need to look at. I'm listening to great music.
There's nothing wrong with sitting in the dark. You know what else you could do in the dark? You could listen to like a radio play in the dark too. Because
Ooh, yeah, I
yes,
did that
the mess.
sometimes too.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah,
especially LA Theater Works has the has like famous plays that are done by actors, but in radio form. And granted, I wouldn't. Sometimes I would shut my eyes and listen to them. When I was at work instead of
yep,
when I was waiting for the paper to upload. I used to work for a newspaper a long time ago, but here we go though. But yeah, this was the big thing, and
yep.
I tell you, I never had a Walkman because Walkman was the premium, and I, of course, was a kid with very little allowance money, and I guess I'm luckier than others that didn't even get an allowance. But
Yeah,
it's just let me add my thing back. All right,
yep.
but that's the Walkman, and I don't believe these are still manufactured. And you
Probably
can
not.
probably
Yeah.
buy them on eBay, but they're actually not cheap. These are big collector's items now, apparently.
Yes,
So
they are. Well,
people
it's the nostalgia. It's not. I don't think anyone's buying them to use them. I think we have better ways of listening to music these days. But
right.
yeah, it's the nostalgia.
It's neat. It's neat. So here we go. There we go. CD player. I know we did a CD thing once on this channel a while
Yep.
back. But yeah, Sony of course had. This is actually the first CD player ever made, home CD player made, and it was made by Sony, manufactured by Sony.
Yep.
Look at that. Look at those buttons, huh?
Would you
Fast forward,
believe I
rewind.
did not get my first CD player until 1991, and technically I couldn't consider it mine until 1992 because it was bought for me by my beautiful at the time fiance, who kept it in her apartment. It was a 5 disc changer thing, right? She
Like
also
that.
bought.
There's
Well,
like a jukebox.
yes, exactly like that. Right. And because we weren't living together yet, she kept it at her place, and she bought me my first CD. Can you guess
Oh,
what it was?
it was a Prince CD.
Very good,
Not necessarily. It could have been anything, but I figured that was an estimated guess because I know what a big. Plus, I know Prince music was on CD at the time too. I think so.
Do you
Yeah.
know? Okay, let's see if you can guess. And keep in mind the time period. So this was 91, 92. Do
Oh
you know
my
what the
goodness.
album was?
Purple Rain soundtrack.
No, because I already had it on cassette. She was
What
looking to
was
get
it?
me the newest one, Diamonds and Pearls.
Okay, I have heard of that
Yep,
title, but yeah.
yep.
I was far late. Yeah, see, Jesse Gerardo also said Purple Rain
See, yeah, I know.
soundtrack.
And believe me, I mean, after that, then the floodgates were opened, and she got me every Prince album she could find. She even went on eBay to find me the Black album, because it was never legally released and whatnot. And
You know,
I
I
got him all the Prince CDs.
yes,
well,
yes,
well,
she
that
did.
you were a very nice fiance, I guess later on wife to Troy.
Mhm.
I want to say something though.
Hmm.
A lot of people, I know that vinyl became very in vogue like during the last decade, and now I think it's basically here to stay again.
Yeah.
The big complaint about CDs in recent years was that they were bad, that sound wasn't as good as vinyl. But I learned later on that the problem with a lot of CDs being produced now is that they were just badly mastered, and that early
Yes.
CDs were much better mastered. And they said they were doing this for radio play.
Yep.
That I guess the CDs were badly mastered because it sounded better through the radio. That's what I had heard. I read that somewhere online. I don't know if that's true or not.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, in the age of MP3, you don't need to be doing anything badly remastered on CD anymore. You should just
Exactly.
be going back to the old standards.
There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with CDs. I mean, I'm always own physical media, but at this point, if you don't have a good master or you don't have an original vinyl or something that you are converting to digital yourself, or like I said, the CD itself doesn't come from a good master, then it may not even be worth it.
My first CD was Mambo Number 5.
I remember the parody of that song, Combo Number 5.
CDs messed up too easy, and even more so for mixed CDs and home rip songs. They were crappy. Oh, we'll have to do a whole other thing on
Well,
mixtapes.
that's how they started out. They did get significantly better, especially as they started to incorporate memory. So they would buffer, kind of the way YouTube does now. When you download a stream from YouTube, it buffers a good chunk of that video. And if you lose internet, you may not notice it until a little while later after the buffer runs out. Same thing with the CDs. The CDs would skip, especially again going back to if you were jogging. If you're jogging, it would skip and bounce and pause and whatnot, and it wasn't until it started buffering that you could again use it in your car, use it when you're driving, or whatever the case is.
I remember, though, I was a late adopter of CDs. I didn't start buying CDs till the I want to say later 90s. Because I was a kid at the time when these were out, and whenever I would get music, I would buy it on a cassette, which, big mistake. Don't do that. Because you can always make a cassette off of your CD,
Right.
but your tape you're getting, what I learned was when they would make the tapes and sell the tapes, you would have a master of it, right?
Yeah.
And they would record it from another master tape, and they would just keep reusing that master over and over again to make tapes out of.
And
The trouble is,
master
over
would
time, that
degrade
tape
over
master
time,
would
yeah.
degrade. You were always better off with the CD. But
Yes.
remember, I got the Beavis and Butthead experience on tape. I did eventually replace it with a CD, so there you go. But and of course, we had the portable, the Sony Discman. I don't know. I don't know if the Sony ones were better. I remember these things never quite worked properly. The portable CD players. Maybe you had a different.
Like I said, once they started buffering, mine worked in the car pretty well. It was really interesting because, just how you into the jack where you would put the earphones.
Yeah.
You could also there was a jack that instead of going to earphones, it went to something that looked like a cassette, and you could put that cassette into your car cassette player, and it would transfer the CD. You do all the controls on the CD to advance the song or replay the song or whatever, but the song was playing over your radio that way.
Oh, okay. Huh.
That was even before they started doing one specifically that went into the car dashboard.
Yeah, my car that I currently drive, my Honda Fit, it has it does still have a CD player, and it also has the auxiliary to hook an iPod up to. I don't think they make cars with CD players anymore. I think those have been phased out finally.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
pity.
And nowadays, I have the ability to whatever device I have that has a USB port, plug it into the car, and
Yeah,
play.
you just do that.
Yeah.
You could even take a thumb drive and plug it into a car.
Yes, you can. That's true.
I was working in a record store in 1995 when CDs came out, priced $25.99 each.
Yeah.
I believe it. They were not cheap when they came out. The whole $9.99 thing. And to be fair, even today they're not even $9.99 anymore. They were for a while.
Well, keep in mind
but they've got up now. They're like $15 now.
$26 back in 1985. Somebody do the calculation for me, but that was a lot more than it sounds like.
More than it is now.
Yeah.
They were not cheap. And, I'm a kid. I want to buy toys. I want to buy video games. So I didn't buy too many
which is
CDs.
why I ended up buying the cassettes, because they were cheaper,
Cassettes were cheaper. I got a Ramones cassette.
Yeah.
Back in the day. But let's see here, though. Well, let's move on. This was interesting. Maybe I was too old when these were out. I think I was jealous cousins that had it. This was my first Sony. Did you ever hear of these? Maybe you and I were too old for these.
Yeah.
These were Sony products that were designed, I guess, for children to use. And I guess they could take punishment more.
Sure, makes sense.
I'll
bet the sound quality wasn't quite as high either as
no, but probably better than what you get for most stuff for kids products. So yeah, I mean,
Lady V says I ripped my own from LimeWire. I remember LimeWire. Yeah,
LimeWire.
Yeah,
that
was out there at the time. People used to go LimeWire, Pirate Bay, stuff like that. Yeah, 7328. Okay. Yeah.
That makes sense. But to be fair, the CDs back then were more premium. They came in these fancy, like length-size boxes with the CD in it. I think for Christmas one year, my dad got me the Fantasia soundtrack from the re-release of the Disney movie Fantasia. So I guess he was trying to spur my interest in classical music, so he got that as a Christmas. So I got that as a Christmas present. I think I still have those CDs too, buried somewhere. But yeah. I had one of those when I was 5. They look neat. I just never had one myself.
Yeah.
Now we're moving on. We're gonna do another brief overview, a couple more electronic pieces. But anything left to say about music devices? This is the Sony Trinitron TV. You ever own one of these?
Yes, we read that, sweetie. That David said that. We brought it up on screen. Thank you very much, though.
The Sony Trinitron.
I've heard of it. I don't know anything about it, so go ahead and fill me in.
Very nice TV, and it's oddly enough, this is the last cathode ray tube I ever bought. Because these were, again, it was the premium stuff. But yeah, this was one of the best TVs you could buy. I ended up getting a model. It was either this model or a model similar to this. This was one of the last before the leap to HD happened.
That's kind of cool looking, actually.
It's cool. Heavy as all get out, though.
Yeah.
Super heavy. Imagine. Like, I know you think, like, boxy TVs were heavy. This was heavier than those.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I had an old TV stand. This was when I was going to university again up in Orlando, and I needed a TV, and my parents discouraged me, don't bring your new plasma with you. Someone's going to steal it. So I was like, well, I have to get a TV, and I went to a Goodwill, and they were selling one of these for $35, so I bought one of these. Nice TV.
Yeah.
And I hooked the Nintendo Wii up to it, because the Nintendo Wii,
sure,
despite what Nintendo said, it was a standard definition console meant for standard definition televisions. And I had a lot of virtual console games in it, so I would play my old school games on it. And I had a DVD player I hooked up to it. I wasn't streaming it, though. For all my talk on the streaming wars yet, I didn't have like a Roku player to hook up to it to like watch, Netflix on or anything like that. But this was back, what was it, 2012, 2013, around then, about 10 years ago. But nice little TV. After the flood happened, though, I finally got rid of it, though, because I had it in storage. But I'm like, you know what, I'm not moving this thing to the next storage unit, and it's time to let it go. But I miss it. I miss cathode ray tube TVs. Did you have one of these? Was it what was the name? Sony Vio
I
computers.
did, as a matter. In fact, I
Yes.
still have it.
Is it good computer?
It was okay for its time. Yeah.
Windows based, right? But like a
Hmm.
premium Windows based. So if you were
Yeah.
like a Windows more a fan of Microsoft stuff, but wanted to think something higher end like a Mac, you would get one of these, right?
Right.
I think, yeah. I'm kind of envious of that. That looks like a super cool computer.
And of course, the reason I still have it is I keep a lot of my old computers just as legacy to play the games that I could play on them without having to deal with emulators and stuff for newer computers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, there's something about just using original hardware to play the games on. Like I like the fact on the Trinitron, I could just hook up my old game consoles to it, and they'd work and look great.
Yeah.
The only thing you couldn't do on the Trinitron was play the light gun games for the NES, like Duck Hunt, because those required a rounded screen, not a flat screen, to work. Isn't that
interesting? I didn't know that.
But most of the other stuff would work. Super Nintendo looked great on it. The PlayStation 2 looked great on it. But a friend of mine has a 50 Trinitron that still works today. Sony makes good products. And speaking of good products, let's get to the next thing that I have to say. I was a fairly early adopter of DVD. I got my first DVD player in '98. I did not buy a Sony, not because I didn't want the best brand, but because I was a Nintendo fan. PlayStation, the Sony PlayStation was the big competitor. I didn't want anything having to do with Sony. So I got a Pioneer DVD player, and it broke on me. I got a Panasonic DVD player later on. It broke on me eventually. I think I ended up with an Aspire DVD player. I think my dad got it for me, and that thing crapped out even sooner. At that point, I think after so many years, I don't know how many years this was later, after I basically said, you know what, the Sony DVD players are now pretty cheap. I'm going to pick one up. I think I picked one up like circa 2002, 2003, and it still works. It was that high quality, even though it was a later model DVD player. It didn't die on me, and so from that point on, I was a big fan of Sony DVD players. Yeah, that's an earlier model. And if you look at this ad, this is a funny ad. Did you see up there in the corner there? It's got takeout Chinese food.
Yeah.
Their Karate Kid trilogy on DVD.
Yep.
And there you have. Here you go. You got your surround sound, your DVD player, your subwoofer. I guess a TV, and of course a Sony Trinitron TV. You need that. And I guess fortune cookies, and you have a night with the boys. See, there you go.
There you go.
You're all watching the Karate Kid movie. See, they all got the bandanas on their head. And this is actually, I brought this up because on Friday I was telling you I bought a Sony upscaling DVD player, and this is the model I bought, and I got off eBay for under $50, brand new.
Neat. And
one of the best buys I bought in a while, and it just looks slick. And I have to tell you, I miss those days of the when electronics. And maybe I'm just not buying high-end enough stuff now. Maybe the new 4K Blu-ray players, you buy a high-end model. It's good. My first DVD player was a Sony PlayStation 2. It was for many others, too. I had a GameCube, though, at the time. But
there you go.
GameCube didn't play DVDs. That probably hurt them.
Possibly.
Because both Microsoft and Sony had DVD players built into their consoles. Oh, well, I guess we have to get to... Anyway... That's the good old days for Sony Electronics. Hope y'all learned something. How about you, Troy? Anything left to say on the matter?
No. That's exactly what these good old days are about. A little trip down memory lane for us.
He says, "Oh my God, we still have our Sony surround system." Good electronics are usually built to last a long time. And I feel that on some level, not with everything. I'm not picking on all electronics, but I think there's a good portion of electronics made today that really aren't built to last. And we need to get back to that as a society. I think. Outstanding job on electronics. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Dpensec. But now we have to move into modern times.
Oh, a little dismal Disney, huh? Let's get into it.
I don't even know why I picked this picture. I think I was looking for angry Bob Chapek, but I didn't find anything that looked good. I'm like, oh, there we go. He just looks like he's staring into the abyss there.
Yeah. Yeah. A little surprised.
I almost felt tempted to put in the headline, Chapek hired by Disney. What? You'll hear about why that in a second. There's a little thing. Okay. No in memoriams this week, hopefully, unless someone's died in the last hour. That can happen.
Oh gosh.
Bob Chapek, a nearly 3-decade Disney veteran who was ousted in 2022 as the media company CEO, has been appointed to the board of directors of medical tech firm Masimo. The move comes during a dramatic series of events involving Masimo and Apple. The tech giant has been in a patent dispute with the firm over a blood oxygen tool featured in the company's latest line of smartwatches. After the Internal Trade Commission ruled that the feature infringed on Masimo's patent, Apple pulled the current edition of the watches off the market. Multiple media outlets reported Monday that the feature is being taken off the watches in subsequent editions. That don't sound good.
Yep.
Chapek took over as CEO of Disney in February 2020, taking the baton from Bob Iger just as the world began to be upended by COVID. While he managed to steer the company through brutal challenges in the initial stages of the pandemic, he encountered friction in 2021 and 2022. Iger wound up replacing Chapek in November 2022. Since the turmoil surrounding his exit from Disney, Chapek has kept a fairly low profile. I remember, I think wasn't it deleted scenes we were doing a Geeky Geezers live, and he announced in the chat that Chapek had been fired. And I remember your reaction at the time. You were like, "Disney is over." You were furious.
Well, and let's face it, I wasn't wrong.
No. I think I made a comment a day later. This is just part of Chapek's master plan, part of his 4D chess, leading his enemies into a false sense of security.
So this does require a bit of context, too.
Yeah.
We talked last year about how when Chapek was in, that Disney and Apple seemed to be in some kind of negotiations, possibly for Apple to buy out Disney or something, some sort of merger. And that sounded very interesting until, well, I mean, now it's looking less and less likely. But I find it very interesting that after Chapek is let go, he goes and starts working for a company that is now suing Apple. This isn't like he's back and he's, in good with Disney. This is a company that's kind of going after someone that was trying to do business with Disney.
It's interesting, yeah. So you think that maybe he's spilling the beans on some of the inner workings over there, maybe? Off the record?
No, you know what? That wasn't my initial thought. Well, it could be.
We don't know. We don't know.
Because
plus,
again,
this is Apple, not Disney.
Yeah, it is Apple and not Disney. I think it's more they looked past where all the stuff in the news about him and this and that, and said, this guy is probably good for business. We can see past the BS that was going on over at Disney, so he'd probably be good for our company. And it does kind of send a message that, where we stand in relation to Disney. Therefore, okay, Apple, you've been trying to cozy up to them. You want to do this,
Okay. And Apple has been cozying up to Disney because of the rumor that they could end up buying them. We don't know if that's true or not, right? But
yeah, and it's looking less and less likely. A lot of the outlets are saying, yeah, no, probably not now.
Apple is so bizarre with their streaming.
Yeah.
It's like they're playing a long game, I guess. I don't know if I'm being generous to them. But there's the return of Bob Chapek. Is that was in the headline? Did I spell his name right?
I
don't know that I care. I think so.
I don't know that I care. I'm
sorry. I'm being so mean.
Yeah, I wonder if we haven't been a little bit too unfair to him. I mean, I said he was incredibly feckless, but I think he was fighting a losing battle. It was like,
perhaps we did learn more about what was going on behind the scenes. How many of us?
He was trying to do his job,
yes,
and his job was not what he thought it was.
He also surrounded himself with people who ended up not being good for him, like Susan Arnold.
And it was the same kind of thing that we've always said. We always ask, well, why would Disney do this? It doesn't make any business sense, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's because you misunderstand their purpose. Their purpose is not to make money. Their purpose is something else. And he went in thinking he was doing the job he was hired to do,
Yes, exactly. And, well, there were other plans, I guess, right, with
pretty much.
people who needed to tap personal bathrooms and showers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which.
Okay, Hollywood Report. Oh, let's go over to the next guy. Yay! Look at that. Look at that smiling man. Okay. So here we go. Disney formally rejects Nelson Peltz's board nominees. Iger's pay hits $31.6 million. Amid an activist investor fight with Nelson Peltz and his Treon Fund, the Bob Iger-led Disney formally rejected nominations that Peltz offered the board of directors and put forward its own slate. Disney's board presented these nominees: Mary T. Barra, Saffron A. Katz, Amy L. Chang, blah, 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 blah. The nominees reflect Disney's ongoing commitment to a strong board focus on the long-term performance of the company, strategic growth initiative, and the succession planning process, and increasing shareholder value, the company stated. Well, the last succession planning process, what's going to be different this time? That's what I'm wondering.
Right, exactly.
Are they cloning Bob Iger somewhere, and it's going to be like a younger version of him? Because he does not want to leave this post. That's what I've learned. Unless they drag, I don't know. The nominees came in the company's preliminary proxy statement, which also had some background on Treon's board crusade and revealed executive pay for Iger and other top Disney executives. Iger's fiscal 2023 pay was $31.6 million, with former CEO Bob Chapek earning nearly $10 million. He was terminated a few months after Disney's fiscal 2023 began in November 2022. And former CFO Christine McCarthy taking home a package valued at $18.1 million. The lion's share of Iger's pay package was in stock and option awards. According to Disney, the company was no less than 20 meaningful interactions with Peltz and his Treon group after the company abandoned its proxy fight a year ago. The company says that Iger met with Peltz in New York in November, and in that meeting, Mr. Iger asked Peltz what courses of actions he would recommend to the board to address his concerns. Per Disney's proxy filing, Mr. Peltz again offered no strategic insights or proposed courses of action to address his concerns, and instead responded that he was not there to put forth a plan, he was only there to get a board seat. Disney also revealed why its board chose to reject board seats for Peltz and former CFO Jay Rasulo, who has joined Treon in its board fight. In deciding not to recommend Mr. Peltz, the directors considered a number of factors, including that in a 2-year quest for a seat on the Disney board, Mr. Peltz had not actually presented a single strategic idea for Disney, that his assessment of Disney seemed oblivious to the ongoing secular change in the media industry. What does that mean? What is the ongoing secular change in the media industry?
The adaptation of media to the modern audience.
That Mr. Peltz's experience was primarily in commodity consumer packaged goods businesses and not the media or technology sector. So that's a knock at him saying he doesn't know about the modern audience, I'm assuming. That
Yeah,
Mr. Peltz
yeah. And I love the interview he gave where they brought that up, and he's like, well, I'm not sure that anyone at Disney does either.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but if I'm taking that meaning secular, like we're a secular society, I'm sorry, very few people in the society are secular. It's just that some have adopted a new religion that they don't want to call a religion, or maybe it's more like a cult, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's not secularism. But anyway, that Mr. Peltz had, okay, so let's see. Or that Mr. Peltz's partnership with Mr. Perlmutter, who owns the lion's share of equity, claimed that the Treon Group and the complexity of Mr. Perlmutter's history with Disney and Mr. Iger and other senior executives created significant concerns regarding how that partnership would impact Mr. Peltz's agenda as a director, Disney's proxy stated. In deciding not to recommend Mr. Rasulo, the directors considered a number of factors, including that after leaving Disney 8 years ago, Mr. Rasulo had no further executive role at any public company, that the media business, the impact of technology, and the competitive universe had radically changed during that 8-year period, rendering his perspective on Disney stale and not relevant to the challenges of today. Yeah, I mean, think about it. We've had NFTs, and now I guess nobody wants NFTs anymore, right?
True.
Okay, that an
Maybe
outdated.
people realize it's kind of a dumb idea.
Yeah, I don't know what the reasoning was. Okay, but anyway, that an outdated perspective on the business would be damaging the ongoing and strategic transformation underway. Disney 8 years ago. What was Disney doing 8 years ago? That would have been 2016. Is that right?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Is that when Force Awakens came out?
I don't know. Could be.
Yeah, I think that's when that stuff. Okay, so the damage had already begun. Okay.
True.
That Mr. Rassel's 4 years as a director and also lead independent director of iHeartMedia had not produced strong returns there. And the board's belief that Mr. Russell's close relationship with Mr. Perlmutter, coupled with Mr. Russell's having been passed over in the 2015 CEO process, despite Mr. Perlmutter's sponsorship of him as a CEO successor, would likely inhibit Mr. Russell's ability to work constructively with Mr. Iger and other executives at the company with whom Mr. Perlmutter had clashed. The SEC filing also revealed that succession planning is well underway, writing that during the year, the special committee intensified its focus and adjusted its approach to CEO succession planning. The company did not say how far along in the process it was. Generative, this is an interesting point. I got two more paragraphs of generative artificial intelligence was also mentioned. The company writing that the full board also reviews reports regarding certain potential uses of generative artificial intelligence and the development of generative artificial intelligence governance principles, suggesting that it is paying close attention to the risks and opportunities of the emerging technology. And maybe the AI can better implement the ESG stuff into their stories than a person can. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, the filing also revealed that it rehired Brian Chapek, the son of former CEO Bob Chapek, as a production executive at Marvel Studios. Brian Chapek left the company after his father became CEO to start his own venture, of which Marvel was a client. According to Disney, the company terminated the contract and rehired Mr. B. Chapek as an employee in June 2023, some 8 months after his father was terminated as CEO. So we have like four big things in this article. It's almost like four articles in one. Yeah. We have Iger getting a big pay increase, it sounds like, right? Or a big payday, at least?
Well, actually, it's interesting because that's what it sounds like. But if you dig into the history, he's lost a little money from his salary because Disney's not doing so well.
And he got stock options. Can he just sell those, though, if he wants to?
He could if he wants to just give the company over to Nelson Peltz. See, this is what I wanted to get at with this particular article. Mm-hmm. This is the first volley. This is just one battle. People are acting like, well, that's it. You know, Iger's won. Peltz is out again. You know, it's a done deal. Nothing changes. And it's like, oh, really? You know, this was Peltz giving him another opportunity to, you know what, just give us 2 board seats and then we'll see if we can't work things out. Oh, really? You're going to be that way about it? Well, guess what? I own more stock than anyone, than all the people on the board combined. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Iger, go ahead and sell your stock. Nelson Peltz will buy it.
Sounds like a roundabout way of saying no to this guy. Gotta love corporate mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
they don't have a choice. They can't just say, oh yeah, we're gonna give up everything we've been trying to do for the past decade and just quit. They are going to fight tooth and nail. These are the same guys that were like, you know, absolutely we don't want to make money on Star Wars. We want to put a chick in it and make her gay. You know, figuratively speaking. Almost literally.
Well, the thing is, I had a suspicion that like the Rogue One movie had a important female character, and I think that was what was originally being designed at Lucasfilm before it moved over to Disney. And that was George Lucas's way of, I guess, putting an important female character in the Star Wars mythos, at least when that was in production over there. I don't know how involved he was in because that actually was a holdover from Lucasfilm, the Rogue One movie. I'm not saying it turned out how it would have turned out over at Lucasfilm. Maybe it was a completely different movie, but. And then you kind of had Rey, and you have basically these thin brown-haired women that are with British accents. That was interesting, but I'm rambling, aren't I? Okay, let's move on. Peltz though failed to get a seat on the board. Is that right?
For now, it's just gonna get worse for Disney. Trust me.
Okay. He didn't want to lay out a strategic plan, though. So what is the reason behind that? He doesn't want them to know what he's planning?
Maybe.
Because
That
I'm sure
could
he
be.
has plans. He just doesn't want to say what it is.
Also, after the last one, where he said, I want you to start, giving dividends, and I want the profits to go up and this and that. He doesn't want them to try doing a bare minimum of implementing sort of what he says he wants to do.
Then there's no reason to bring him on the board.
That would be their argument, yes. Whether that's
Uh,
true or not.
and let's see what else. There's the AI thing, which, okay, they're looking into it. And Chapek Jr. is working for Disney now, which is interesting.
Yeah, that will be interesting. Let's see how that goes.
Rogue One was previous project. It was Force Awakens had roots into Lucas. Well, his Force Awakens obviously didn't get made because that was the. Didn't he have his own trilogy written up and then they tossed it?
Yep.
In fact, didn't they say they were going to use it before he signed the dotted line?
Yeah, they outright effing.
Does no one learn from history? I mean,
No.
it's probably because he worked with Kathleen Kennedy so much over the years that he probably had some trust in her.
Oh yeah,
That's probably what happened.
She just bent him over and gave him a strap on.
Speaking of which, and I have to say, dude, there's a reason I didn't post the thumbnail as the first picture on this stream.
Yeah.
Do you have an alternate one in case YouTube knocks me down?
Yeah, I did pixelate it.
Okay,
I
I can't know.
pixelated
I
it.
could tell what it was.
So could Netter
Maybe I
too.
shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't have been able to tell what it was. Okay, Hasbro hitched its wagon to Disney, and 1,900 lost their jobs.
I've got a lot to say about this one.
So this
yeah.
is a Breitbart opinion piece. So this is an opinion piece.
Yeah.
And the opinions of Breitbart do not necessarily represent the opinions of Aged Boomer or PaPa Pacelli here, or maybe they do.
But they probably do.
Anyway, I'll go ahead and read it. Maybe he's using words I wouldn't use, but maybe in a year I'll be using them though. At the rate things are going. Hasbro Toys have just announced the layoff of 1,100 souls a few weeks before Christmas, which comes 2 years after extending a deal with the Disney Grooming Syndicate to sell Star Wars, Marvel, and Indiana Jones toys. Oops. Hasbro already laid off 800 staffers earlier this year. Hasbro CEO Chris Cox blamed the setback on headwinds and a slowdown in toy sales after the COVID lockdown sales boom. Why are they blaming this thing for everything?
Yeah.
Okay, let's not be too hard on him. Like the corporate media, the FBI, and politicians, CEOs are paid to lie. We all know what the headwinds are to begin with. The insane inflation caused by Bidenomics, which has murdered the spending power of the average family. Oh, absolutely. I believe that. And then there are the groomers, he says, and the benefit of 2 years in hindsight. This is pretty amusing. Hasbro today announced, this is him talking. Hasbro today announced an extended relationship with Lucasfilm, renewing its long-standing licensing deal for Star Wars, and announcing a new agreement to develop products based on the Indiana Jones franchise. The Indiana Jones lines by Hasbro will be available globally in 2023, aligning with the release of the highly anticipated new Indiana Jones feature film. Disney has long valued its relationship with Hasbro in developing fresh, imaginative products and toys that delight our fans of all ages. Gush Stephanie Young, president of the Disney Grooming Syndicate's consumer products, games, and publishing. We're thrilled to continue collaborating with this iconic company, one that will help lift our consumer experiences across the Marvel, Star Wars, and now Indiana Jones franchises to new heights and for years to come. Why do I have a feeling maybe that third one is not so much? But 2 years later, Star Wars is more hated than ever. Marvel movies are flopping, and the highly anticipated new Indiana Jones feature film went down in an ocean of red ink without a trace of impact on popular culture. No one talks about it.
Right.
Like even like say what you want about some of those Disney Star Wars movies, they at least get talked about. Like some people are still delusional enough to like them, but this one, no. Yeah. This is no surprise. No normal child ever said, let's go to the store so I can get action figures of an 80-year-old indie with his cool girl boss sidekick, an overweight lesbian with a lightsaber, and those joyless... oh, my goodness. Okay. Anyway.
Well, let me sum this up for you,
Yes,
because I
yes.
think it focuses very, and I've seen a lot of YouTube channels talking about this, and rightly so. It's what's out there, and it's what's being focused on. But I've been saying this for a very long time. And I think that there's way more going on here. Okay, it almost implies that it's all Disney's fault. And I had addressed the Disney problem that Hasbro was having a long time ago, where Hasbro wants to put out, you know, prequel trilogy figures. They want to put out, original trilogy stuff. They want to put out stuff from the games. They want to put out, stuff from the EU. And Disney says, no, we want you to put out, stuff from the sequel trilogy. And they go, well, what about this other stuff? Okay, you can put the other stuff out, but you also have to put out Rey and Kylo and, what's her name? The Inquisitors from Obi-Wan Kenobi and all the people from the Andor and, little girl Leia and stuff like that. And nobody's buying this stuff. And so they're putting this stuff out and they're taking a huge loss. And it's not really being offset by the other stuff. I mean, it kind of is, but you don't want to friggin' break even, And, they put out a HasLab to sell Reva's lightsaber that didn't get funded because no one effing wants the thing, And it's like, that was really smart.
You know what I don't understand? They have that up immediately, but they took forever with Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Because again... and I have to suspect this again is not something you can blame on Hasbro. This is absolutely a Disney problem. Hasbro wants to put the thing out, but if the company doesn't tell them what the thing is, it was the same thing that happened when Star Wars first came out. Kenner bought the rights to Star Wars, kind of on spec, okay, when other companies very famously turned it down. But they didn't get the stills and the pictures and the stuff of, who the characters were and what the ships looked like and all until very late in the game. And so there was no way they could get the figures, the molds and the tooling and stuff to put these figures together and have them in stores in time for Christmas. There's videos you could find out. There's and I could even do a stream about it sometime, talking about how very interesting that first year of Star Wars marketing was, but they were way behind the curve. And it also led to things like variations in figures because they got a still that, showed a figure from the waist up. So they didn't know what he looked like from the waist down. So they put out, the tall blue Snaggletooth because they didn't know it was a short red figure, and they corrected that later on and all this kind of stuff. Well, the same thing happened to Hasbro when it came to Grogu. Well, the whole first season, we had no idea what Grogu was. There was no name given to the character. It was just, we made up the name as fans, calling it Baby Yoda. So first off, what the hell were they going to call this character? Right? Were they going to go back to the old Kenner model and call it, little Yoda-like creature? Little big ears? Something like that. But secondly, they didn't know this figure was coming out until all the rest of us found out about it. And then they're like, hey guys, is this part of our license? Can we start getting these figures out? Well, by that time, the crafting community is already putting out on Etsy. They're making, 3D prints of, Baby Yoda. And it's like, well, that's brilliant. And then when Yoda comes out, or Baby Yoda comes out, they put out 25 different variations, and it's like...
Because
Yeah.
It was overkill at that point. Then,
exactly. Right? It was horrible. So Hasbro has marketing problems that go beyond Disney. Yes, Disney was a problem. Their stupid reactionary thing to it was not too great. I think the HasLab for the Razor Crest hurt them too, because people were buying, getting in on bought the HasLab, bought in, the whatever it was, $300 or whatever it was for this ship. With exclusive action figures that we weren't going to get for a year. And literally, as soon as the thing closed and they funded it, the episode the following week blows up the ship. So fans were like, that's effing BS. And I think this was the last time that people would fund HasLab on that kind of spec. It better be something that's established that we already want, because, you know, they're not going to be buying the and you see the reaction to things going down. The only thing that's consistently pulling in money for Hasbro, and it's because they're not mired to and obligated to put out crap that won't sell, is their relationship with Ghost Corps and the Ghostbusters stuff they're putting out.
Yeah.
Hasbro is not putting out anything related to the 2016. But boy, howdy, are they putting out stuff from Afterlife. They're already hitting market with Frozen Empire stuff, and apparently they're going to start putting out the new Ghostbusters as a retro line. I mean,
the real Ghostbusters, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, that'd be cool. I
fright features and the whole bit. Yes,
I had those as a kid. I enjoyed those a lot. They came with slime and a little ghost would come. You get a pint of not a pint. You get a little barrel of
packet
slime.
of slime with
and a ghost with each Ghostbuster.
Exactly.
I remember that. Yeah.
And now they're doing some new stuff. They're just like you were saying, the whole slime thing. They're doing the same thing with. They're putting out an exclusive Slimer figure, because Slimer's going to be returning in the new movie, and but his body, instead of being hard plastic, is going to be like a stretchy silicone,
like a Stretch Armstrong sort of thing.
Kinda, but hollow. So if you want to, you could literally like have him engulf one of the other action figures or something.
Oh, that's
like
funny.
That. Yeah.
Troy, they're both to blame. Disney made bad Star Wars movies. Hasbro toy line has a history of quality control problems on their figures.
Absolutely. You are 100%. If I could give you more than 100%, I'd say even more than 100%. Because we have talked about Hasbro in the past in terms of D&D and sending the Pinkertons to somebody, to a YouTuber's house. And, you know, you'd think I'm exaggerating. This actually freaking happened, you know? And
I imagine the Pinkerton had a top hat and or a bowler hat and a top hat and a curly mustache.
But probably not that, but definitely strong-arming him and threatening him with bodily harm. It was freaking ridiculous stuff. And then the Magic the Gathering stuff, charging $1,000 for a box of cards that may or may not even have anything rare in them. And literally they price themselves out of that market, you know. And yes, the quality control, the whole thing from, was it last year or the year before, with the Marvel Legends figure, the big one, that the legs didn't work right and it would fall over. Friggin' ridiculous.
Were they the ones that made the Galactus figure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they were.
We're hearing about that. Would they say Hasbro played games with the distribution of back in 1995 with the reintroduction of Star Wars toys? Is that right?
See, depends on what you're specifically referring to on that one. Their distribution model has been effed up forever, where you would have, I don't know, I'm just randomly, you know, out on the West Coast maybe, you have all your Target and Walmart and everything filled with a particular type of figure, and you just couldn't buy them in the Midwest. Right? And out there, they're at Ollie's. And here, I'm paying scalper prices on eBay trying to get the effers. You know? So the scalpers are making all this money out on the West Coast, buying them at half the price, and then selling them for 3 times the price. You know? And Hasbro doesn't see that money. That is a bad business model. You want to get it out to as many people as possible to buy it at retail price, so all the money goes in Hasbro's pocket, not in some, you know, secondary market's pocket. You know, same thing with the HasLabs. The HasLab, I will admit, I was one of those scalpers, okay? I bought 2 of the Razor Crest, right? And I have one on display, actually. I'm touching it right now. It's that close to me. The other one, we turned around and resold for twice what we paid for. So basically my Razor Crest was free. Now, I didn't do it 3 times the price or some crazy amount like some of them do. And the person that bought it from me was very grateful. He was like, I could not get the money together in time. I am thankful that someone was willing to help me to get this at what he considered to be a reasonable price. But if you live outside the continental United States, you're screwed. Maybe you can have it go to a friend in the United States and he could ship it to you. And now you're paying twice as much as you paid for the Razor Crest to have it shipped to you and hope that it makes it to you. Or you could do like a situation like Michael French. Somebody bought it and Michael French physically brought the thing to Australia for somebody. You know,
The cost for something the size of the sail barge would have been about $3,000.
it would have cost $3,000 to ship it. Yeah, it was $500 at the time that it sold. We ended up spending $1,000 for it because, again, somebody, was looking to recoup their own costs. So you buy it for twice the price, which, again, compared to what some other people were paying for it, that's actually a very reasonable secondary market price. But all of that money goes to somebody else, not to Hasbro, and it's ridiculous. And then it pisses off the collectors outside of the U.S. And then when you put out these exclusive, you can only buy them here, you can only buy them there. Well, now I can never complete my collection. I'm done. I'm not even going to continue anymore. A lot of people do that, and so the market goes down and down and down. And that's why Hasbro finds themselves in the situation they are. That is besides the fact that Marvel and Star Wars are more and more losing interest from fans and market share, so people are less and less likely to buy the toys. And you know what? I've gone on way too long about this. Go check out Retro Blasting. He's got tons of videos talking about Hasbro and their missteps. Especially with the Indiana Jones, where over the years there have been all these different scales of figures, and it's great when a new series of figures comes out, but it's not in scale with all the ones that I wanted to collect, so screw it. Why should I bother?
So it doesn't help you grow your collection.
Exactly. And now this figure that you're putting out now is too big for me to fit into the German Jeep that I got from, Raiders or whatever.
Oddly enough, though, it's the same size as the Batman and Robin figures. I'm kidding. I'm just.
Well, and that's a very similar problem that we're seeing with McFarlane Toys and their Superpowers collection, is that their figures are, supposedly supposed to be superpowers, but they're like an inch taller. But what that means is I picked up the Wonder Woman jet where she's kind of squeezed into it, and I'm like, actually, this is perfectly in scale with the old Superpowers Wonder Woman, and I can fit a Steve Trevor behind her.
There you go. We saw that you can see that on Troy's Friday stream.
Yeah.
All right, deleted scene from the Marvels, not our deleted scenes, a deleted scene. Okay.
I wanted to see deleted scenes in the Marvels, but not this deleted scene.
Shows Valkyrie unsurprised that Brie Larson's Captain Marvel will be married to an underage girl. What?
Yeah, and it gets worse than that.
Well, I watched the clip, and
it's uncomfortable
a little bit, but. What Marvel isn't? Deleted scenes from the Marvels released by Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company in order to sell Blu-rays and DVDs of the film shows the company continues down the slippery slope of degeneracy by having Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie be unsurprised that Brie Larson's Captain Marvel would be married to an underage girl.
Now, wait, stop right there. Because then people try to justify this by doing incredible mental gymnastics. Continue.
Yes, the clip shared to social media by IGN sees Kamala Khan get teleported into Captain Marvel's ship after looking around for a few brief moments. Iman Vellani's Miss Marvel figures out where she is. The ship then receives a communication from Valkyrie. After Miss Marvel answers the call, Valkyrie says, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." After turning around in her chair and seeing Ms. Marvel, she says, "Oh, you're not my Captain." Kamala Khan then states, "Captain Marvel's resident, this is Ms. Marvel speaking. How can I... You're Valkyrie." Valkyrie responds, "'Tis I." Wait, Mrs. Marvel? She got married again? And no invite again. Kamala Khan corrects her, "No, I'm Ms. Marvel. Ms., we're not married. That would be, I'm single." Valkyrie simply replies, "Okay." Next, Valkyrie makes a lewd joke as the ship's voice indicates that would be making some kind of jump. Thompson's Valkyrie says, you might want to strap on. I mean, strap in. From there, Captain Marvel is warped in the ship while Ms. Marvel is warped out. The clip ends with Captain Marvel asking, "What is happening to me?" Is this actually from the movie, or is this a deleted scene?
It is a deleted scene that
Okay.
was released on social media.
So
Now, question that this brings up. How the hell did this ever get to see the light of day in the first place? Why is it even out there on social
I'm
media?
going to tell you why, and you're not going to like this.
No, I probably know exactly why, but
there's
yeah,
a
go on.
double standard. If this was a male character and this underage girl saying, "Oh, I didn't realize you were married," like it was Ant-Man or whatever, there would be outcry. And how dare you even insinuate this is an underage girl because it's a woman?
Let's clarify that though.
I'm saying in Hollywood. I'm not saying everywhere else. I'm not saying in regular America.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that.
The idea of a female predator is nothing, or someone going
and
underage.
they don't see that.
Be the same if it was a boy. If Kamala Khan was also a teenage boy, and she said the same thing.
Yeah,
they probably would have made a similar joke. Do you understand?
And they don't understand
yes.
that nobody in the world, maybe in the world, but in this country,
yes,
that isn't a sick person that should be stuffed into a wood chipper would think this was okay. That even joking this way in a show made by Disney, ostensibly for kids, is okay.
I don't know, man. They're even mentioning the whole marriage thing might have been excused. This is just them making a dumb joke with her slurring her speech when she's beating Valkyrie or something, and she thinks she said Mrs. It's dumb and it has bad connotations. Then the strap-on thing happens.
Look, in a PG-13 film, okay, I could see this scene if it went like this. Oh, she got married again and I wasn't invited? What are you talking about? I'm 13 years old, or I'm 16 years old, or whatever. That would be, sorry, and everybody laughs. That you could get away with. This, no. The way they leave it, no, it's just not cool. And then the strap-on thing, that has no purpose and I think, and a lot of other YouTubers have pointed this out. How did it get to the point that the scene was even filmed for it to even exist?
There's
now.
no oversight. There is no oversight when these things are being made now. No one's minding the store.
And that tells you everything you need to know about where Disney is right now.
Yeah. The director of this movie went off. Didn't she go off to make another movie in the middle of production and then came back? Which I'm still trying to wrap my head around. They had someone else finish up her other scenes for her.
Jesse, that was specifically related to what they do in public schools. So, yeah, that wouldn't apply here. But, yes, it certainly doesn't help their case. Let's put it that way.
Anyway, but, yeah, that's...
Yeah, act of grave depravity, as the article says. Yep, I would say that's spot on. And yes, if you want to change out the thumbnail, we definitely could.
Unless YouTube yells at me, like I said.
I don't. Unless some troll
I didn't
is
put
here.
The picture up. I keep forgetting to do that.
Yeah, unless some troll comes along and specifically says, reports us or something like that.
See, there's Kamala Khan in the weird Captain Marvel helmet.
Which,
thing.
in the context is cute, right?
Yes.
She's doing a cosplay. It's supposed to look like cosplay. Honestly, I think she'd get mixed reactions at a con where con C-O-N, not K-H-A-N.
I feel bad for this actress because you can tell that she's enthusiastic and just wants to be in good Marvel movies, but then everything else is falling apart. At any rate. If I wasn't done with Marvel, then I am now. Yes, I know. Well, anyway.
I know, right?
So are we moving on to Nintendo? Unless you have something else to say about the state of the Marvel universe. They're advertising this one pretty heavily now because I guess they don't have any Marvel movies coming out right now. They have
it's all for the best.
Deadpool, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I still see as more the Fox Deadpool, unless they're going to integrate him into the MCU, which please don't. Unless he ends up destroying the MCU, that might be kind of funny if he
that would
goes
be
in there and
nice.
just destroys the whole thing.
That would be so nice. But no, do you honestly believe that? I mean, come on, it's no.
You could fix things just by wrecking the whole thing.
And I have to believe that that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, they're just look, in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's finish what we set out to do and walk away. I think that's where they're at on this now.
Yes. Next article is Nintendo Land. That picture is actually from a Pokemon theme park in Japan, but looks like there might be some news of maybe stuff coming to Universal. Actually, this is interesting if you follow theme parks. Universal and Disney are very different because Universal will change up its parks every so often too. Like they make new parks, like the new Epic Universe they're working on, but they'll also revamp their old parks and add new attractions or remove
which
older
is
attractions.
a smart business move.
Yeah. So, Pokemon and Zelda rides coming to Universal Orlando theme park, claims rumor. The new rumor suggests theme park attractions based on Pokemon, The Legend of Zelda, and Luigi's Mansion are planned for Universal Orlando in the coming years. With Super Nintendo World set to launch at Universal Orlando in Florida next year, it seems more rides based on video game properties could be in the works at the resort. Following parks in Japan and Universal Studios Hollywood and LA, Super Nintendo World is set to open in Universal Orlando in 2025, complete with Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, an outdoor Yoshi ride, and the planned Donkey Kong expansion. Nintendo, however, isn't the only company to have announced a partnership with Universal in recent years. In 2021, the Pokemon Company partnered with Universal Studios Japan to bring a unique Pokemon experience to the park, although no details of the attraction have emerged since. As reported by Orlando Park Stop, however, plans for a Pokemon-themed area look set to be replicated at the Orlando Resort. The outlet notes that a ride based on The Simpsons, which is expected to close over the next couple of years, could be replaced with the new Pokemon area. This makes complete logical sense to me because Disney owns The Simpsons now.
Yeah.
This is not exactly a friendly property. I know they're still clinging to Marvel over there at Islands of Adventure, but which I could see them replacing with DC if DC would ever get their act together and become a good again. But
yeah.
But for now, I think they're going to hang on to Marvel as long as they can. But I think with Simpsons, they're ready to get rid of it. The Simpsons ride replaced the Back to the Future ride. Similar style ride. Excellent ride, just like the Back to the Future ride. If you were a Simpsons fan, you would get on it, and as you're walking around, you got to watch different videos, like from Springfield, like Springfield News. And I think the plot of it is that Sideshow Bob is sabotaging something at a theme park. I think or something.
It sounds like they were basically going with the same basic storyline,
basic kind of ride, yes.
Back to the Future, except swapping out characters. I get it.
Swapping it out, and it's animated.
That's
like
very smart.
Yes, and it's a great ride, but I guess its time has come to move on. Yeah. So it looks like it's going to be Pokemon. While the outlet notes that this is speculation, it is commonplace for rides at Japanese resort to be cloned at Universal's other parks around the world. The Pokemon ride in the works for Japan is rumored to use augmented reality, much like Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge at Super Nintendo World. It's claimed it would replicate a Pokemon battle in a vehicle with players giving orders for attacks through hand gestures.
Wow.
It's believed this ride could be connected to a general Pokemon-themed area where attendees can purchase an interactive Pokeball to catch Pokemon, all connected to an app like the power-up bands used at the Super Nintendo World.
That's freaking brilliant.
Yeah, Pokemon's huge. Pokemon's this weird company because Nintendo doesn't own Pokemon outright, but I think they own a very large stake in this Pokemon company. Do you understand? Yeah. So they get exclusivity on it and stuff. Yeah.
And it doesn't say this, but I'm just speculating. Can you imagine you go through the park collecting Pokemon in your Pokeball?
Yes.
And what can you do with them? Well, if you can store them, then maybe when you come back to the park and come back here, you can play with them again. That gets you repeat business. Come back, you know?
I think this will be a big hit with the kids. Like I said, Pokemon, I'll admit this is one phenomenon where I'll admit I was aged out of it.
Yeah.
Because I think I was 21 at the time when Pokemon finally came to the United States.
Yeah.
And I remember predicting at the time that Nintendo was nuts and that this was going to tank.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
dead wrong. Because it was huge. I remember getting a Pokemon video in the mail from Nintendo where they were explaining about the cartoon that was coming on and about you could get these things called these trading cards. And I'm like,
Right.
you think kids are going to buy these trading cards?
And guess
I
what?
was completely wrong. Yes.
Dude, see, this is where you got to learn from history, right?
Yes.
Think about Pogs. Okay? If kids went crazy for Pogs, this is a little bit better of a game than,
Yeah, than
slapping a
Pogs,
slammer down on a Pog, right?
But yeah, so I think having any kind of Pokemon themed attraction at a Universal resort, my only question is why is it taking so long? Because I expected this to happen. It doesn't make sense to put it in Epic Universe though, because they have the Mario themed area in there. So why put it there? Why not just put it in a different park?
Right.
And Pokemon is actually, even though I do think of it as a game, it's actually fairly multimedia because you have the cartoon, you have the card game, so it's really all over the place.
And it lends itself very well to an augmented reality like they just described.
Elsewhere, though, it is rumored that an attraction based on The Legend of Zelda could be planned for Orlando's Islands of Adventure. It is speculated to feature an indoor boat ride and a small outdoor roller coaster, along with a restaurant named after the Deku Tree. I'm sorry, that one makes complete sense to me because I've been to that part of Islands of Adventure, and that was the adventure area of the park, and like they would put on like this cheesy Sinbad play. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I like the other parts of the park, but the Sinbad play they put on was. But apparently they're going to redo one of the rides. I don't know if maybe it's Poseidon's Fury. They're going to redo. Was that the name of the ride in the park? And it's going to be based on Zelda. And some people were speculating it might be based on the Wind Waker because that was very seafaring. Link was on a boat in that one. He was more cartoon-like in that game, and it was more about being on the ocean and adventures on the oceans and like pirates and stuff like that. So I could see them retrofitting the ride to something like that. And they have a restaurant there that I believe is in a tree, so they could just make it a Deku tree themed restaurant. It wouldn't take much. So I can see them making a Zelda ride in the other park, especially with the upcoming movie coming out. And it actually makes perfect sense that they would do a Zelda themed area. I mean, it would probably what's going to happen is the old adventure area, half of it became Hogwarts, and the other half they'll probably turn into Zelda. That's probably what's going to happen. Because the Hogwarts area at the main Universal Studios, I think like the Dueling Dragons coasters that were part of, I guess, that fantasy type area, that became part of the Hogwarts area because, of course, Dueling Dragons, that's easy enough to convert into something Harry Potter themed, right? Because that's dragons and Harry Potter. So
that makes sense.
Probably the other part of this section will be converted into a Zelda themed area, so that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So cool. I wish Universal could bring back the old rides like Back to the Future and Jaws.
I know.
It is sad we lose things, and I would be angry if we didn't get good stuff in their place. They do tend to give us good rides in their place. They don't just throw stuff out. For instance, I think they had a Hanna-Barbera ride, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But I think that ended up getting replaced by a Minions ride.
I will say this. Yeah. It would be easier to bring back the Back to the Future ride than it would be the Jaws ride. The Jaws ride required, huge animatronics. And
it was neat, though. It was a neat ride.
It was. Yeah. It also was plagued with problems. So it would not behoove them to bring that one back. I could see them doing a different kind of Jaws experience in the style of the Back to the Future ride, though. That I could see. And they should really start thinking along those lines, especially when you go from the Back to the Future to The Simpsons. Start thinking in terms of how can we easily change sets to something new or back to something old, and then just reprogram the whatever and bring a ride back. And then what you do is you do like a week or a month or something, especially for an anniversary. We're the Simpsons ride's going away. We're bringing back the Back to the Future for 1 month.
That would be neat if they could bring it back, like while they're designing the other thing, bring it back for a little bit. That'd be neat if they could do that. It was neat when you're waiting in line for the Back to the Future ride, though. You would hear the Power of Love song playing. They would play all the songs in the Back to the Future movies, like remember that one, the ZZ Top song from Back to the Future 3 that was being played?
Oh yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
background, and it was neat.
That's
And
what
this-
I tell you what. I laughed out loud in the theater when ZZ Top is there back in
funny.
the past, and one's got the drum and and the
It was
banjo,
probably their
and they did the
ancestors,
flip.
right? That was
Yeah,
the
it's supposed to be like their
ancestors
ancestors
of
or
ZZ Top,
something.
yes.
And I'm laughing so hard. I'll tell you, that's one of the things I love about ZZ Top is because they do that kind of stuff.
Yes.
One of the members of ZZ Top
Yes.
was
Bones.
Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He was
Bones,
written
yes.
into the story that one of the main characters was his daughter.
Yes.
And
thought
they
that was
talked
funny.
about him all the time, and then he did a guest appearance, which I thought was really, really
That
cool.
was funny. Yeah, so it's neat. I miss Back to the Future, but I want part of me thinks just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Don't mess with it right now. And three, I think is an underrated of the three. I think people tend to think three is the worst. I think it's a perfectly good movie. It's a western, but there was good setup for it in part two. Yeah.
There was, that's because 2 and 3 were filmed together.
Yes.
Did you know that? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And the original script that they had done for 2, or that they had in mind for 2, was actually very close to what they did in 3. You know, there's a great behind the scenes documentary about it that I'd have to see if I can find it for you, but it was an interesting thing. They would have gone a very, very different way with it. There's a lot of their original thought was never to go back to the events of the first movie, but as they thought about it, they're like, look, what is every sequel usually but just a rehash? Let's lean into that in a very different way, which time travel gives us the opportunity to do.
Yes.
And it ended up being brilliant, you know?
I loved everything. I loved 2 as well, and yeah, because it was basically a rehash with him going to the 50s. But then even in the future, though, in the future scenes, they're rehashes because you have, what is it? You have Biff's son or grandson in that. His name is Griff, and he's part cyborg. Like, yes, you know.
But again, that's another great one because if you look at the overall length and breadth of the chronologic story, it actually makes sense. The influence that parents have on the future generations.
Yes.
It's like there are echoes of this, and you do see Marty kind of learns that. He gained a wisdom in how long in real time did the events of these 3 movies, how long was that for Marty? That was like one summer, right? In one summer, he did a whole damn lot of growing up.
He did.
Right?
He did.
So
he went from being the guy that, the chicken thing to moving past that.
Yeah, when he it's
keeping
like
his cool.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? And then he just, doesn't, and it changes everything in the future. And there's so many things about that were so well written. Yeah, you're right. Stay the hell away from it. Don't touch Back to the Future because you just don't have the chops to do it.
I haven't heard that. Kept hearing Back to the Future 2 was commonly seen as the worst, and that 3 is almost like Last Crusade, the trilogy. It's interesting. I'm thinking back to when it was out, so maybe opinions have changed over time now.
The thing about Back to the Future, the whole trilogy, is it really lends itself to multiple rewatches because there is so many little Easter eggs and details. They thought through so many elements, and when you see them, it blows your mind every time. And there are so many videos and behind the scenes and commentaries out there that when you watch them after having seen the 3 Back to the Future movies that point these things out to you, you get more and more and more appreciation for them. Definitely worth it. Nobody's saying that about subsequent Indiana Jones films. They just got worse as they went, Anyway.
Speaking of which...
Oh,
wait. Hold on. That's not the one I was trying to click on. You already posted it. There it is.
I did already post it.
There we go. Machine Games unveils first look at Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Xbox Direct 2024.
Yeah.
So, Xbox had a Direct where they were doing, I guess, 2 of the 3 movies. 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 developer showcase on there. So it's official. We finally gotten our first look at the upcoming Indiana Jones game from Wolfenstein developer Machine Games. It's called Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and it's out later this year. Our first real look at the games opens with Indy in a bit of a tight spot, buried up to his shoulders in the desert. While we never see exactly how he wiggles out of that one, that's only the start of the trailer. Indy seems very much to be in actor Harrison Ford's likeness, though voiced by Troy Baker, as he explores temples, trips up enemies with his characteristic whip, shoots Nazis, and finds secrets buried in tombs and behind statues. And yes, he has this iconic whip, which can be used for combat, traverse, and as a distraction. The game opens, we're told, at Marshall College, taking place between Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Last Crusade. Indy hears a strange sound and follows it to find an enormous man stealing an artifact. His investigation into what's going on takes him to the Vatican, and later to other locations, including Egypt and the Himalayas, as he explores ancient sites to uncover the heart of the mystery. Machine Games says that the Great Circle is intended to be very cinematic and action-y. That's a word. In keeping with the spirit of the films, they use lots of stunt actors for the very physical segments. And the gameplay mix is mostly first-person play with occasional third-person moments where, when necessary, for this. Yeah. For this, yeah, okay. Music is composed by Grammy-nominated Gordon Habe, who's aiming for the essence of a John Williams score. We also got a look at secondary protagonist Gina, an investigative reporter with a personal stake in the mystery Indy is exploring, and cerebral villain Emmerich Voss, who's obsessed with manipulation and the mind. Let me see. Machine Games first revealed their Indiana Jones efforts in January of 2021, and we've unfortunately seen nothing since. We have learned that it's being produced by Todd Howard in collaboration with Lucasfilm, and that while it was originally conceived for a PS5 release, it will ultimately be an Xbox console exclusive thanks to Xbox's acquisition of ZeniMax. Last week, a fan uncovered some hints that the game was going to be called Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and they turned out to be true, perhaps hinting that other trademarks filed around the same time for Galactic Circle and Circle of Resistance might manifest at some point as well. Do not put resistance in your title, please.
Exactly.
I'm over the word resistance anymore at this point.
Yeah.
Please stop. To catch up on everything announced today, okay, check out the roundup. My opinion on what I saw here. What's interesting, they pointed out, is that Microsoft Xbox acquired this developer, which means I guess they acquired the license to use Indiana Jones, at least for this particular game, and it won't come to Sony, which I thought was interesting. So I guess they inherited this contract. Is that what happened? So that's kind of interesting.
Apparently, yeah.
Did you watch the trailer for this game?
Look good, yeah.
We'll see. I'm not a fan of the newer Wolfenstein games. I like the newer Doom games, the newer Wolfenstein games. They got kind of cringy as they went along, but
sure.
Maybe this will be good. Plus, some people probably heard Todd Howard and cringed at his name too. But remember back, well, it's not available. What? It's not available. Not coming out for PlayStation. Will be an Xbox exclusive. What? You don't own an Xbox Series X? I thought that was the top console for all the young kids. They all had an Xbox Series X. I'm kidding. It's collapsing. Xbox sales have collapsed in Europe. By the way, I never bothered. We had too many stories to cover when that came out. But no, it's dead in Japan, dead in Europe, and it's sort of clinging on over here. But PlayStation 5 is outselling it. Microsoft needs to figure out what it's doing. Who knows? Maybe this will show up on other consoles at some point. I don't know. The trailer looked all right. I just don't like this developer, but maybe they'll surprise us. But it doesn't matter since it's coming out for a system I don't own, but also for PC. So who knows? Maybe, Troy, you can play it. And the lead actor playing Indiana Jones' voice is also named Troy.
Yeah, he's got a good name, so there's that.
Troy Baker, yeah, he's a kind of a who's who in video game voiceovers. He voiced Nathan Drake in all of the Nathan Drake games.
Oh.
In fact, I think he had a cameo in the Uncharted movie. I'm trying to think what else. I think they have him voicing the Joker and a lot of stuff now, too. I think he's sort of the replacement Mark Hamill. So... Please excuse my language, but I'm sorry, I have to post this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did you see that?
Please excuse my language.
He's
Yeah,
angry that the game's not coming out on PlayStation. Well, it's
yeah,
not like the PlayStation 5 is the best-selling console.
yeah.
It's not coming out on the
Well,
Switch either.
one thing I wanted to say before you totally
Sorry.
kicked them in the butt with that
Okay, go ahead.
is regarding the replacement of Mark Hamill. I hate to say it, but as far as the Joker's voice goes, just about anyone can do it.
I think so.
I think the best is Joker's voice on YouTube.
Oh, right, yeah,
but
definitely.
I mean, I do a pretty decent Joker imitation. So I mean, Mark Hamill, everyone thinks he's the shit, but
Hey, I like Brent Spiner's Joker. Isn't that weird? Okay.
it wasn't bad. Yeah,
He did it on Young Justice. He did the
yeah,
Joker.
yeah.
That was when they were looking to find out, I guess, who was running that evil organization, and then I think the evil organization was called the Light, and then the Joker emerged with like Count Vertigo and Poison Ivy and a few others, and they figured, oh, that's the evil organization we've been hunting for. That's the Light. And then it turns out, no, that's not the Light.
Yeah.
We find, and then at the end of the episode, you find out who the Light is, and the Light is among them Ra's al Ghul and Lex Luthor. And basically the very intelligent DC supervillains were all
Yes.
part of an organization. And I'm not saying the Joker's not intelligent.
Very
but
interesting. The Light.
unstable.
In other words,
Yeah.
it's DC's ripoff of the Illuminati, right?
Probably, yeah. But I think the idea was all these villains had to work together because with all the superheroes being organized, they also had to get organized. But they had to do it not like in the old,
Yeah, not like in
Legion-
Super
not
Friends,
like Legion of Doom,
yeah.
which they did on Justice League only if they did
because they
Legion of
work
Doom,
together
it was-
because they're just evil and they got that in common. The problem with evil is they're all out for themselves and they don't work together very well. They're pretty antisocial.
I have to catch up on Young Justice. I only watched the first 2 seasons. All right, but yeah, there we go. Let's get to Ubisoft, aka Ubi. Some people online call
Ubi
it
socialist, yeah.
Ubi. Some people call it Ubi shit. I've heard that name tossed around too.
Well, there you go.
Ubisoft, I have to tell you, was during the 6th generation of consoles. I think there were a lot of great companies making stuff. They made some of my favorite games of the 6th generation. Splinter Cell. They did Rayman. They did a third Rayman game in 3D. I really liked. They did the Prince of Persia trilogy, the Sands of Time trilogy, which I loved. So I was a big fan of Ubisoft back in the day. But things change. I don't like their games as much these days.
Yeah.
And here we go. Let's go and read the first one. Let's get through this. This should be under our. We should just have a new headline for these and call it "Own Physical Media."
Yeah.
It's like we're getting one of these each week.
It's true.
Video game streaming has yet to take off in quite the same way that it has with television and music, but that hasn't stopped Ubisoft from investing heavily in the technology. With Ubisoft Plus, the company has made its library accessible to users for $17.99 a month. That service has apparently been a success for Ubisoft, but there's a lot of room for growth. Speaking the game industry biz, Ubisoft's director of subscription, Philip Tremblay, talked about what it's like going to take for more gamers to embrace the streaming model. One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to a little bit like DVD having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection.
No, they haven't. These are the same morons. He's an idiot. These are the same people that say that physical media is dead, and we know that's bullshit. Because even if you're not putting it out, people are still making their own. So screw you. You're wrong. Go on.
They want it to be dead.
They want it to be dead.
Why do they want it to be dead?
Because they want to keep their hand in your pocket.
That's part of it. They also want to control what you watch and when you watch it.
True.
This is
Or
very
in this case, what you play.
Very information freedom. One of the things we saw is that the game is okay. That's a transformation that's a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. Tremblay told Gamer Industry Biz.
Okay. Now, we have always, ever since the shift from the old computers that we talk about on Geeky Geezers that had no internal memory. But even then, you'd put in a floppy disk, you'd save your progress, and then you reboot your progress and continue the game. We have been always able to do that, even on DVD. What he's talking about is, oh, well, you could play it from another computer in another place if you're traveling or whatever, and you don't lose your... Okay, that's fine. That's nice. What happens when you stop carrying that platform? When you no longer are offering that game, I lose all my progress. Whereas a game that I own physically on my hard drive, where I save my progress locally, I have forever. I am not comfortable with you being able to say that I can no longer play my game ever again. And the character that I spent time building up and enjoying is now dead.
But the cloud.
Yeah. The cloud is nothing. The cloud is literally nothing.
By the way, like with my Xbox console or the PlayStation, it does have cloud saves, but they also save it to your hard drive. So you get both saves. It comes in handy if you have to get a new console and put everything on a new console, then you can just get your saves off the cloud drive. Now, that's an example of that being used where it works, and I agree with it, but it's not... That's like an extreme
I guarantee
example.
you what's going to happen here is that piracy is going to happen, but it's going to be different. You're going to pay to play your game, and then when it dies and people freak out, people will be online saying, you want to buy a copy? We got a copy for you. And it'll have some sort of a thing that makes it think that it's going out to the cloud to get a license or whatever, but it's internal on your hard drive and you can continue playing it. That's what's going to happen.
I liked one of these articles that had a picture of Captain Picard flipping the bird. Did you see that?
Yeah.
But I did want to read a little bit from the second article. It says, death of physical media, ? While concerns of the future of physical media are a major discussion surrounding video games, many are similarly concerned about movies and TV as well. The reality of streaming platforms just don't have everything people want to watch. And with retailers like Best Buy moving away from selling physical media, it seems like companies are boxing people into a future where the only option is to watch a movie or play a video game is by paying for a monthly subscription service. It remains to be seen whether that future will come to pass, but it's easy to see why companies like Ubisoft are so desperate to make it happen. Like I said, I've not wanted to play a new Ubisoft game in a long time, even though they were at one point they were a highly respected company as far as I was concerned, but they've changed over the years.
A lot of companies used to be highly respected companies and are no longer.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake. They promised us too, but that did not end up happening. I used to be a huge fan of Ubisoft for their Assassin's Creed game until the Viking Greek one. Yeah, because they started, and you'll probably agree with this, Troy, they started playing fast and loose with history with those games. In those later games, because the idea behind Assassin's Creed was that these were like historical epic games where you would play a member of the Assassin's Guild. It was like the Assassin's Guild versus the Templars, and like they were fighting each other through different periods of history. But I think then they started messing around with history to the point where things were getting ridiculous, But but it's a loadable. If buying is owning, then piracy isn't stealing.
I get it. Yeah, absolutely true.
If buying isn't owning, I think you mean, yeah. I think game companies save money by not having to pay people to make physical media, and digital copies can already double and triple dip in customers' credit cards. Yikes. There's a rumor going around, and this was a rumor from a Sony leak, that there would be that the Spider-Man 3 game they're working on is going to be sold in parts. Like Spider-Man 3 Part 1, Spider-Man 3 Part 2, Spider-Man 3 Part 3. You have to buy all separate parts for like $50 each, instead of just giving you the whole game at once.
Which, just like a movie series, isn't bad if each one is good on its own.
If it's a full game, yes.
Yeah.
But we don't know if it is or not. Anyway, it's something that leaked. We don't know what's going on with that. But I have to say, yeah, this is not good for Ubisoft. And I don't know. I do feel like they are trying to box us into a corner. I don't think we're there yet, even with movies and DVDs. I think that's Best Buy stupidity more than it is. Other retailers still sell movies. Some guy was pointing out that a lot of the steel books that Best Buy used to get are now being found in Walmart now. So you can still get stuff in Walmart, I think. But I don't know. Buy physical media. And I do want to make some other point, though. I was saying you don't need to own the game. You just need to be comfortable with not owning it. You can do cloud saves. Nintendo has this service called Nintendo Switch Online. You pay 20 or you pay a little higher to get more stuff, and you can play games with people online, over your Switches. And you also get access to vintage Nintendo games and other vintage systems, right? And you can download them onto your Switch, but you don't own them. As soon as your subscription runs out, you won't be able to play them, and it'll still hold on to your saves. And I actually did the subscription to it this past year because I'm like, I don't feel like digging all my old games out of storage, and they're right here on my Switch. I can just play them. I have to tell you, the fact that I don't own them, and the fact that I can't go to them anytime I want, even when the subscription runs out, it makes me not want to play them.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like, I don't know. At first, I thought this wouldn't bother me because I figured, okay, I can't really get my stuff out of storage right now because of the flood and everything. I can have everything I want on the Switch, but I couldn't get over the fact that these are on my console, but I don't own them. Yeah. So I don't even think I'm going to re-up the subscription this year, at least not to play these games. Maybe to, I don't know if I'll be doing it at all, actually. So it bothers me. So yeah, that's all.
Yep.
Here's the coming soon section. You were doing I think you were trying to do a nice segue with Spider-Man 3 Part 1 and 2, and not realizing it was a segue, right?
I don't know. I didn't think it through that much. You're giving me way too much credit.
Okay, let's go to Mission Impossible.
Yep.
That's a decent poster, I'll say that.
Yeah.
That does have an epic look to it, right? That's, makes me want to go see it in the theater. Fortunately, it was a Part 1, and I didn't get to find out what happens next. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning gets Paramount Plus release date, plus drops Part 1. What?
Yep.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is stream Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning will rise on Paramount Plus very soon. The 7th Mission Impossible movies will be added to Paramount Plus on January 25th in the U.S. and Canada. It will arrive in additional international markets beginning in February. Notably, the original title of the film was Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, but it is now simply called Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. The slight name change comes with the upcoming 8th movie, which was originally subtitled Dead Reckoning Part 2, was delayed over a year from June 2024 to May 23rd, 2025, as it was announced it will receive a new title. So I think they're postponing this Part 2 is a mistake. It might have been due to the actor strike. Maybe they had stuff they were still working on for it to get it out for June 2024. But I'm not necessarily against Part 1s and Part 2s, but they have to be released in quick succession. We made a point about Back to the Future 2 and 3 earlier, how they were shot back to back. Yeah. You had Part 2 in the fall, and then you got Part 3 in the summer, remember?
Yeah.
And then you had the Lord of the Rings movies were shot together, and you got one a year. You got one at Christmas time the one year, then the Christmas time next year you got Part 2 and Part 3. Right. I think waiting 2 years between these parts is not going to be good for this series. We'll see, but so I think they're getting rid of the Part 1 to make people think, well, it's just another Mission Impossible movie. It had an ending and all that, but not really. I mean,
right.
And to be fair, at the time I gave them credit. At least they're telling us it's a Part 1 up front, unlike the last Fast and the Furious movie, which also landed on a cliffhanger like this, but it didn't say it was a Part 1.
Right.
In fact, it ended with, at least the Mission Impossible movie, I don't want to spoil too much, but Ethan has the upper hand, at least at the end of it, okay? Mm-hmm. Whereas at the end of the last Fast and the Furious movie, it looks like Dominic Toretto's done for, It's like a cliffhanger ending,
Yeah, exactly.
And then they ended it there. Okay, that's it. So are you impressed with that?
Kind of. Well, I am not caught up on my Mission Impossible.
We'll take your time on this one because you're not going to get the Part 2 until next year.
Yeah.
They're good. It's a good series. I have enjoyed them. It's a good substitute for Bond at this point because we're not really getting the Bond movies like we used to. So
for damn sure.
In fact, I remember when Ghost Protocol came out, and it came out around Christmas time, and I was like, wow, it's very nice that I got to see a James Bond movie at Christmas time like I used to. Because the joke was we hadn't seen a Daniel Craig James Bond movie since Quantum of Solace because of the whole MGM wanting to sell. Remember that? And they couldn't sell. And then they didn't want to do another James Bond movie until it sold, and Skyfall took forever to come out after that.
Yep.
We almost had 2 decades of Daniel Craig. That's kind of insane to me.
Yeah.
Because usually Bonds only last 1 decade at the most, if anything. And now, just
Well, they do. They kind of age out, right? I mean, I think what's his name? Sean Connery. He was at it a little longer than he should have been.
Who was on it longer? Who? I'm sorry. Who would you just say?
Sean Connery.
Well, if you count Never Say Never Again, yes.
Yeah.
Which I know you're saying. Of course, it counts. He's
Well,
playing
no, I
James
get
Bond.
why you would say it doesn't.
It's a remake
so.
of Thunderball.
Yeah.
Pointless remake of Thunderball. Of course,
Yeah.
I may end up liking that more than some of the other Bond movies we've gotten recently.
True.
Diamonds Are Forever. He had aged up, I think. Yeah, he's looking a little worse for wear in that.
But
movie.
I do remember enjoying Never Say Never Again. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, it came out the same year as Octopussy, I think.
I
with Roger
really
Moore,
loved
right?
the idea of that video game they were playing. I thought that was kind of cool.
Where you get shocked if you lost.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You literally feel the losses to your army or your Air Force or whatever it is. And
I could see them doing that in a modern Bond movie if they were to bring Bond back for a modern one. Of course, I don't trust the people in charge of that right now, but we'll see. I thought Mission Impossible was over. It might be over after this next one, so we'll see.
which one is? Okay. Yeah.
Mission. I kept thinking they were setting up Jeremy Renner to take the reins, but then he just ended up being another character that showed up in other movies, But
Yeah, that's true.
but it's fine.
But if you want to continue a franchise like that, you do need to set up a revolve out one character, bring in a new character. Look,
If
nobody
they did, they could use Jeremy Renner for that if they wanted to do it that way. Yeah.
Nobody has ever had a problem with handing off the reins to a new generation, but you got to do it, in a good, reasonable, logical way. If you want to do a series where Batman, retires, Robin goes on his own, and he takes it, that's fine, but you got to set that up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they did a Batman the Brave and the Bold episode about that, where it's like, if Bruce Wayne died, what would happen? And Dick Grayson took over the Batman role, and that was interesting.
They've done that in the comics a lot.
Yeah. So here we go. Let's. Do we have time for these last couple, or should we just wrap it up?
We can go whichever way you want. Which one do you want to do next?
Well, we do Linda Ronstadt because that seemed to interest you. Plus, I went to the trouble of posting up a picture.
Okay.
What do you think?
Fair.
Maybe similar? I don't know if that's the best, closest thing I get with, Selena Gomez, but there's some similar features there, right?
Yeah,
maybe?
as long as I'll tell you what, they better really think through her eye makeup because look at her. Look, it's in the eyes. If you're going to do Linda Ronstadt, it's the hairstyle, it's the lip. The way you contour the lips and whatnot, but those eyes need to pop. They need to be big.
Yeah, and they're not popping on Selena right here, but to be fair, that's just a random shot of her.
And Selena better be ready to get out of her, Disney, bubblegum thing, because she's going to have to be, she's at least got to be sporting some no bra, kind of thin blouses playing Linda Ronstadt.
I haven't seen this show yet, but she's been on a series called Only Murders Happen in This Building, and she stars alongside Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
And I should probably give that series a look, because I do like Steve Martin and Martin Short, and it's kind of neat. And I think she's like a detective, like maybe she's a police detective, and like maybe they're helping her solve crimes or something. So it might be, maybe it's more of a mature role for her on that show than from the Disney point.
Lady V says, I'd say no because of the fake lips. You know what? It's all in how the makeup artist applies the lipstick. I mean, an exaggerated example of that would be Natalie Portman when she played Amidala. And there was the one look that had the little tiny red lips. You can very much change the contour of lips using makeup.
But yeah, so David O. Russell is set to direct the upcoming Linda Ronstadt biopic starring Selena Gomez. Variety has confirmed. Music biopic currently in pre-production. Producers including James Keach, who has produced the 2019 documentary Linda Ronstadt, The Sound of My Voice, and Ronstadt's manager John Bolin. Did you watch that documentary?
No.
Might be something worth checking out, maybe.
Okay.
Gomez teased her involvement on the biopic earlier this week by posting a picture of Ronstadt's 2013 memoir, Simple Dreams, on her Instagram story. No other casting has been announced. Okay, so we'll see. Ronstadt is a country, rock and roll, and Latin music legend known for her 1970s albums Heart Like a Wheel and Simple Dreams.
Yeah, if you really know Linda Ronstadt's music and you know Selena Gomez, I'm going to say absolutely this could be a good casting depending on what they do with it, and if Selena Gomez is going to lean into that style, and I think she can, and I think she would. So I think be very, very good.
I think she's been acting long enough that she actually wants probably to have kind of a serious career, and this might be her big chance to break out into something that could, even get an award somewhere, maybe. So I think she'll probably take the part seriously. So we'll see if she has the chops. But I said, she has been on that Murders in Your Build, so she's still out there. And
what you just said is so key. Because I do believe that biopics like this are a great, great opportunity for a good actor to become great. If you throw yourself into that role, really research the role, know the history, know the person, listen to the music, immerse yourself in it, and then pull it off really well. Look, I'm going to point to Kurt Russell playing Elvis Presley. Okay, I know this is before most of y'all's time, but that's something to check out. That I liked Kurt Russell before he did that. After he did it, I saw him as a grown-up, mature, true actor.
Yeah. Okay, good. And like I said, Kurt Russell started out as a Disney actor.
You know what? Deleted Scenes makes a great point. David O. Russell may be a bigger issue. I don't even know who he is or what he's done. So
you'll have to tell us about that sometime.
Yeah,
I don't think she survived. She'll survive Russell director. We'll see. Yeah, and I'll say this, at least for all the Disney actors, I've never heard her do anything that annoyed me. Unlike some other Disney actors. So
yeah. And do you know, did Linda Ronstadt have anything to do with this, or is this...
Is she still alive?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, then I would assume she's involved. I don't know. Let me see. Ronstadt.
Dude, if she had died recently, you better believe I would have done a whole full-on video about it.
Nothing yet. Ronstadt announced her retirement, later revealing she's no longer able to sing or due to her progressive supranuclear palsy. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
So she mustn't be she's having some health problems, but her manager's involved in it, so I guess he would have gotten some permission, right? I mean, I don't know here exactly, but
I would imagine so. But I mean, you can say, yeah, go ahead and do it, give me money, and I'm happy. But there's also, I'll answer your questions. I'll sit with you. I'll coach you. I'll be at the filming of certain scenes or whatever. Stuff like that. I don't know. To what extent.
Selena has kidney issues and lupus. It's never lupus. It's gonna require minimum set time. I think she got a kidney donated to her too, if I remember correctly.
She?
Yes, she did. I think another actress, Hollywood, gave it to her. That was nice. Here we go. Well, speaking of giving life to something else.
Oh gosh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we won't spend too much time on this,
but we do need to cover it, because this one, I'm. You better believe I'm following it. Problem is this federal court? We may not be able to get any actual footage from the case, but good, interesting.
A New Mexico grand jury has indicted Alec Baldwin on an involuntary manslaughter charge stemming from the fatal 2021 shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the Western film Rust.
Makes me wonder if he didn't pay the right people or something. It's kind of surprising that this, comes back,
Yeah. Baldwin, 65, was indicted Friday after special prosecutors Carrie T. Morrissey and Jason J. Lewis brought the case before Santa Fe grand jury earlier in the week. According to the Associated Press, EW has reached out to Morrissey and Lewis for comment, as well as Baldwin's legal team. Luke Nickus and Alex Spiro, Baldwin's defense attorneys, told AP, "We're looking forward to our day in court." Baldwin was originally charged with involuntary manslaughter in January 2023 and pleaded not guilty. Morrissey and Lewis dropped the charges 3 months later, saying that new facts were revealed that demand further investigation and forensic analysis, but they added that their decision does not absolve Mr. Baldwin of criminal culpability and charges may be refiled. Then in October, Morrissey and Lewis announced that additional facts have come to light that we believe show Mr. Baldwin has criminal culpability in the death of Helena Hutchins and the shooting of Rust director Joel Souza. Explaining that they plan to present the case to a grand jury. So basically, new evidence was presented. They had to drop. They didn't. I think they put off the charge, looked at the new evidence. Now the charge is back based on what they saw with the new evidence.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Well, see, I have to weed through the biases that I know exist and the realities and facts of the case, right? And I'd been saying, if you're just going by the facts of the case, there is no way that he isn't responsible. And I've said this on multiple streams, both on my channel and on yours, here on Geeky Geezers. He pointed a gun. He pulled the trigger. He's responsible. Just the rules of firearms to begin with, but especially Hollywood rules for firearms is you don't just trust anybody. You check the gun yourself before you ever point it at someone and pull the trigger. So the fact that he could make an argument, I didn't know, there is no excuse for that. You are still responsible. Now, you can make the argument that someone else is also responsible. What's it called? The armorer, for example. But you know who else is responsible?
Who?
The director and the producer.
Yes.
Who are the director and the producer?
Brendan Herrera? No, I don't know.
The AK guy? No, he is not. He is not in any way.
I'm sorry. I don't know who.
What's his name? Baldwin.
Oh, Baldwin is there. Okay.
So he is still responsible, even if he wasn't the guy standing there pulling the trigger. See, this is what I'm saying. It's absolutely his fault, his responsibility. Unless I'm mistaken, there was even a civil suit, right? And he no shock. I'm sure it's undisclosed how much he had to pay out, but he had to pay out something, for killing somebody. So what it comes down to is jury selection on this, and there's probably a lot of people in what is this, Arizona court? There's probably
New Mexico.
New Mexico. Yeah. There's probably a lot of people in New Mexico that are willing to let him off, but there's probably also a lot that think nope, we're going with the law, and you hypocrite. You need to fall under the law like everybody else. So honestly, this case is going to come down to jury selection.
Gotcha. Yes, funny deleted scenes. Boomered it.
No, what's funny is you said Brandon Herrera.
I saw the name in the chat. I was like, "Is that the producer?" And then I'm like, "Okay, never mind."
Brandon Herrera is the AK guy on YouTube, and he is running against Tony Gonzalez.
That's where that name was from. Okay,
in Texas for Congress. He's running against a rhino, and so for you to have said that name of all people, I'm like, that is so funny.
Well,
I actually thought you were doing a bit. I didn't want to step on it.
Now I'm going to be hauled in front of New Mexico courtroom. Says now there was another suspect in this case.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You lied.
Yeah.
You're under oath, sir.
I didn't lie. I just didn't know what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah, there we go. All right, let's end with something funny or sad,
something
depending on
sweet.
how you look at it.
Yeah,
something sweet. If you're not in a relationship but you're not single, Sweethearts Candy is giving you a delicious opportunity to celebrate Valentine's Day with that hard to define companion.
The
Uh,
chalky tasting candies that we all know from every February.
yes. Spangler, the company behind the beloved conversation hearts with romantic phrases like love you and be
Reasonably
mine.
beloved.
Reasonably beloved, is that one of the things in there?
I'm telling you that these candy hearts are like they are to Valentine's Day what candy corn is to Halloween. You know, some people love them, but a lot of people hate them.
Yes. Spangler said the company behind the beloved conversation hearts with romantic phrases like I love you and be mine said in the news release that it's putting a new twist on its sweethearts, misprinting those lovey-dovey lines for messages as blurry as your relationship. Singles are taking situationships to the next level this year, and Sweethearts is here for them, said Evan Brock, Vice President of Marketing for Spangler. The printing on Sweethearts isn't always perfect. This is our way of embracing those imperfections in a way that taps into pop culture. The delicacies are targeted at Gen Z situationships, the company said, which include any relationships without exclusivity, boundaries, or labels. Does this include guys sending money to Pokimane online or something along those lines, or something?
Could be.
Or Amaranth?
Could be.
You don't understand. We have a different kind of relationship.
Look, I'll tell you,
It's a
I'd be
drink
all
is college
behind
fun.
this. I would be all behind this if they did what Jelly Bellies does, where they have different like they have the Birdie Bots, which is licensed to go with Harry Potter, and you could do like tropical flavors, and you do the same thing here. You got your traditional, you got your alternative, and then you can, like, on the back, to give some sort of description so people know kind of what they're getting. So you can, whatever. And yeah, I think it would be funny to have the online relationship candies, with some like I want to be your only fan or something,
Oh, that'd be funny. Oh,
See, I could do this. It's all in the marketing. But if they're throwing all this crap together in with the traditionals, I like that blurry one. That blurry one is good. But that should also be in, like I said, an alternative, not the traditional one,
Rollful, the dirty adult version of the hearts is cute. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Roll on the floor laughing. That's what that was.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that just about wraps it up for this week.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's
I think so.
okay. But yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's all the news for the week.
Yeah.
I'm hearing myself on YouTube. Hold on. Okay, I'm having hello, Mr. Matchstick. Welcome. So yeah. What else is going on? What do we have going on this week? After midnight tonight, you can head over to Deleted Scenes channel for The Other Side of Midnight.
Yep. There's the link right there. Go ahead and right-click on it right now. Open it up in another tab so that you can have that open when we finish up here and go hang out. Where Deleted Scenes will be hosting Jason Fox, founder and owner of 540 Studios. Definitely a great channel to follow and to check out.
Great.
I've been on his channel a couple times, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll look for it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you, Dee Myers. We do try. All right. So then on Tuesday we have
we rock, and occasionally we even roll. At least we try to.
I usually roll off my chair because my butt's getting numb. I'm sorry. Wait. What? No.
Well, we're getting to the point maybe where we need chairs that roll, right?
I have an old computer chair I'm sitting on right now. So yeah. Carpal tunnel
sitting
syndrome.
on an old computer? Sorry.
Funny, man. I should have gotten my Trinitron out. I should have kept my Trinitron. Could have sat on that, right?
There you
go. So Tuesday we have Sparkwood 21 over on Deleted Scenes channel, where Troy, Netter, and myself will be over there, and we will be watching another episode of Twin Peaks.
Yep, we're all very worried about Audrey, and we're hoping that her big, strong, brave G-man comes through for her.
And Donna found a clue last week, a big clue at the end of the last episode. Then I want to see what happens with that.
Absolutely. So that is Tuesday.
And then anything going on Wednesday?
You would know that better than I would.
No, yeah, not this week.
Okay.
Thursday on Thursday things over on Netter's Network.
Yep, she's having a very special guest that we're both very much looking forward to. Frequent contributor to the Deleted Scenes channel, Sin's Corner. We're going to be talking with her, talking about her channel, talking about movies and reviews and all that sort of thing.
Cool. And then on Saturday night, Big Al's channel, I believe.
Big Al's Films with Friends, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen it?
I thought I did, but now I'm not 100% certain that I saw it all the way
I think if you haven't, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It is like a 1930s version of what the future would be like, like how they were looking at the future in the 1930s. That's what it reminds you of, and like all of the tech. I don't want to say it's quite steampunk, but it's.
I'm sorry, I was just distracted by a chat going on.
Depression era punk, maybe. I don't know. And it's neat. You'll enjoy it. Jude Law's in it, Angelina Jolie, Gwyneth Paltrow. It's got a good cast in it. So, yeah.
Lady V says Wednesdays are Deleted's day, and Thursdays and Fridays and Tuesdays. And Deleted Scenes says they are.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm doing something on Friday. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to start a stream. Well, actually, no, I can't because of music school. One day I'll have to start a stream of Deleted Scenes where we watch every episode of Doctor Who. And it'll just go on for 50 years or something, right?
I mean, if we were to do... I mean, I could help you out with that.
I'm just joking.
I could set up the Cosme.
I'm kidding.
I could set up the Cosme for you, and I swear if you were to do an episode every single day, we would still be a couple years doing it.
Maybe in my retirement, we'll see. Okay.
Yeah.
What I did want to mention to you though, but I believe Deleted Scenes will be on this channel next week to discuss the Oscar picks. So that'll be interesting on the next Geeky Geezers.
It's looking like it. Right.
So I'm curious. It's just all going to go to Barbie. We all know what's going to happen this year. Though they could also give it to Oppenheimer, so it'll be one or the other. Those are the two.
I super appreciate people like you and Deleted Scenes, Sin's Corner, and whatnot, who even care about these award shows anymore, because I sure as heck don't.
I ceased caring when they went from 5 to 10. I thought that was stupid.
Yeah.
And they said that I think Bret Easton Ellis theorized the reason they did that was that they didn't give The Dark Knight a nomination for Best Picture, even though by a lot of accounts it was the best movie released that year, but they didn't want to do it because it was a superhero movie, I think. And then I think that because I think even Bret Easton Ellis says they could have at least given a nomination and given the win to something else, but they didn't give a nomination. So then they think that's what happened when they moved it up to, I guess, what was it, 9 nominees now?
Yeah.
Which means you just have nominees in there that you know will have no chance of winning.
Not
so
to mention,
makes it less interesting.
Not to mention, though, that it's an even bigger snub now if you don't get it. I wasn't even, in the top 10?
Exactly.
Seriously?
So... No, I was just joking, Deleted Scenes. Well, actually, I'll say this, though. Maybe sometime on a Friday night stream, maybe Troy should do a Doctor Who rewatch. Maybe your favorite episode or something. What do you think? I don't know.
Could be.
I think mine might be Earthshock. Even though it's kind of a downer at the end, I do like that episode.
I'll tell you, it is hard to... I mean, gosh... It would be hard for me to decide what my favorite episode is. I'll tell you what the episode is that I usually recommend to people who have never seen Doctor Who before, that I'm trying to get to watch it, is Blink. And interestingly, that's one where the Doctor's barely in it.
That's true. That was Samantha Sparrow was the lead character in that episode.
Yep.
My dad kept thinking she was going to get a spin-off series, but that didn't emerge or something,
Well, and that's the thing about Doctor Who. there's always been potential for a lot of these characters to be spun off, and some have. You know,
Like, why
Sarah.
didn't she show up on Torchwood or something, right?
Right,
I mean,
Torchwood itself is a spin-off.
yes.
What do you call? Sarah Jane got a spin-off. You know, I mean, they could have done so many things. Now they've just killed the whole thing. So I mean, you know, who cares? About
It
at
makes
all?
me depressed. It
Yeah,
really
it
does. You had something and you ruined it. And by the way, when people were saying the revolving door companions, I didn't give you this story because we had too many. But the new companion is apparently out of the show already.
Yeah, and there's got to
It's a
be
one
some stuff
season.
going on behind the scenes that we're going to find out about.
One or
because-
two things happened. It was either a problem with her, or it was a problem with Davies. And we knew that Davies had a problem with Eccleston. Eccleston does not.
Well,
like
I think it's going to be a lot more nuanced than that because it
Okay.
started out with her giving an interview or something where she said that, well, you know, we've got a lot of very controversial things coming up and this and that, and that's all sounds really good from, you know, the people pushing the message, right? But a couple things. She's getting thrown under the bus by the powers that be, saying she was a diva, she was hard to work with, and we're like, really? That's why you got rid of her so soon? And then on top of that, you see who she's being replaced with, and you start going, oh, okay, it sounds a lot like you want to get rid of the blonde white girl for someone who's a little bit darker. Is what
It just
it looks
had
like to
Yaz
me.
on though with the prior Doctor though.
Oh no, you can't have any white people. The white people can only be the bad guys.
I'm just saying.
No, that's clearly how it is. So you know, and let's face it, you know, a lot of people have pointed out, you know, who's really the hard one to work with. You know, Russell T Davies drove off Christopher Eccleston after one season. You know, and he still doesn't, even though he can.
Look,
He can get hot about it. He hasn't told all the details.
this show is not going to survive to another
It is not.
regeneration. I think
It
it's
is
done.
not.
But well, like I said, if we hear anything interesting about it, we'll let you know. But I think I'm giving it like maybe 1 or 2 seasons more tops, and it's done. I think
Yeah,
it's just going
I
to go
agree.
away.
I agree.
They'll put it in a hiatus, and they can always, tease it coming back,
Yeah.
like they did with the original show, which took forever. Later tonight, though, Other Side of Midnight. Also look for tomorrow night in these networks. Midnight movie night at the Regal, mystery movie night. I hope it's a good one, and you don't get stuck with another turkey like you did the other week. But The Other Side of Midnight, special guest Jason Fox, founder, owner of 40 Night Studio. Okay, all right. So y'all have a good week, and we'll catch you next time. And hopefully we'll have some pleasant news for next time. We'll
Yep.
see.
Yep.
Bye-bye.